Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. My name is Angelika Sharigina. I'm in the organizers team of the summit, and I would like you to join our historical event. Today, you will get invaluable insights from true visionaries, business, government, and diplomatic leaders from both UK and Ukraine. And we are live right now in our studio in Kiev, and I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Katya Lang, in the studio in London. Katya?
Hi, everybody. I'm Katya Lang here in London live. Just a bit about myself. I'm the original founder of Fintech Times, and I was named top women in fintech a couple of times in 2018 and 2019, before I moved to a different industry in women's health and wellness with Femtech Lab. Today here, I'm more than excited to welcome you to UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. We're live here in the capital of Great Britain, which is also the financial services capital of the world. And as it happens, it's also fintech capital of the world, with over £3 billion pumped into the sector within just 1 year. Despite the pandemic, or possibly thanks to it, it has sustained very well, and it's now one of the fastest growing sectors of the UK economy. With this, I'm over to Angelika.
Thank you, Katya. We are delighted to welcome you from our studio in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, a country with a booming tech industry. The IT sector is growing 5 times faster than the global average in Ukraine. What is more, Ukraine occupies the #1 spot in Europe based on the volume of IT service experts. Ukraine is considered a #1 outsourcing destination. The volume of Ukrainian IT experts exceeded a record high, almost £4 billion in 2020. And I would like you to join us today with our distinguished speakers that are coming online from across the globe, from the UK, Ukraine, UAE, France, Switzerland, and on-site in our studios in Kiev and London. And let me tell you a little bit more why this is really important for you. Today, you will unleash the rapidly transformed landscape of digital banking and the role of financial innovation in post-pandemic recovery. You will also discover the next big ideas in fintech from the most promising startups with innovative products. Yes, we are going to have some really amazing startups joining us today with possibly unicorn ideas. You will get a unique chance to learn and explore the vast post-Brexit opportunities in Ukraine and unveil how it helped millions companies and how it can help your company today. And I would like to give the floor to Katya Lang back in London studio.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angelika. Please welcome on stage Mikhailo Fedorov, the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine.
Greetings. It is an honor for me to be here today and to open the first UK-Ukrainian Fintech Summit. The United Kingdom is an important strategic partner for Ukraine. The cooperation between our countries has been actively developing. We study the UK's experience in digitization and innovation in public services. The team of our ministry has been digitizing Ukraine for about 2 years. Our goal is to make Ukraine the most convenient service for every citizen. We have already made a digital breakthrough in many areas. We have launched DIA, transferred the most popular government services online, covered the country with the internet, and taught Ukrainians digital skills. One of the most important tasks is the development of the IT sphere in Ukraine. Our main goal is to double the share of IT sector's GDP in Ukraine, up to $70 billion. We are confidently moving towards this goal. We are now launching the DIA City project. This is a special legal regime for IT companies with the lowest taxes. We are developing an e-residence project. We are opening the market of virtual assets. We are developing a startup ecosystem. Today, the Ukrainian IT sector is growing organically by 20–30% every year. However, the launch of TheCity will double the number of jobs in the industry up to 450,000. First of all, these are favorable tax and legal conditions for entrepreneurs. We actively communicated with international companies. They are studying our terms and are interested in joining TheCity. We are launching the residency project for foreign freelancers in the creative and IT spheres. Foreigners will be able to register and conduct their business in Ukraine online, open accounts and pay taxes without visiting Ukraine. We expect more than 3,000 year residents in Ukraine by 2022. The launch of the virtual assets market in Ukraine will create conditions for attraction foreign companies and launching innovative projects. There should be more world unicorns in Ukraine, such as Grammarly, People AI, GitLab, or Reface. This is our main goal and motivation. We are developing the Ukrainian startup ecosystem. There is a Ukraine Foundation of Startups in Ukraine. Last year, the fund already invested almost 200 startups, which more than $5 million. The IT sector is very promising for Ukraine. We are now reforming IT education. The investment in education is an investment in the future of the IT industry. Professionals are foundation of the digital economy. I'm sure that Ukraine will become the most powerful IT hub in Central and Eastern Europe. We are open to cooperation and exchange of experience. We are interested in establishing business contacts between the business community in Ukraine and the United Kingdom. I believe that together we can create effective projects. Thank you for your attention. I wish everybody a very productive day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next speaker is Baroness Mayer, UK Prime Minister's Trade Envoy to Ukraine. Welcome, Baroness.
Thank you very much. So on behalf of the British government, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the very first ever UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. I would like in particular to greet our guests from the Ukraine, notably Mikhailo Fyodorov, Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine and Minister of Digital Transformation, whom you heard previously, Kirilo Shensheko, Governor of the National Bank of Ukraine, and of course, my good friend, Vadim Pristaiko, the ambassador to the United Kingdom from the Ukraine. We all owe a particular debt of gratitude to the embassy's initiative to make this summit possible. And when you look at all those companies who are participating in it, it is very impressive. This is a moment of hope and high ambition in the UK's relations with Ukraine. When we, in Britain, talk of our country's global vocation, when we talk about post-Brexit opportunities, the relationship with Ukraine is precisely what we have in mind. We already have in place a free trade agreement signed by your by your president and our prime minister in October last year. There is now no barrier that I know of to a great flowering cooperation and collaboration between our two countries. In the world of fintech, amongst many other areas. The UK is a world leader, as you heard, and you will hear more about, in financial services innovation. London is the only city in Europe that ranks one of the world's 5 top fintech hubs. Ukraine is a world-renowned center for enterprise and innovation. It is not a surprise, then, that our meeting today brings together an extraordinary array of talent from fintech industry of our two countries. I wish you well in your discussions, and I hope and I strongly believe that they will lead to practical results that are mutually benefiting our two countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baroness. So great to hear about the future of London. The next speaker, I'm excited to welcome on the stage is Kirill Shevchenko, Governor of the National Bank of Ukraine. Welcome, Kirill.
Dear colleagues, I'm glad to be here with you at the Fintech Summit. I'm glad to see all the speakers and attendees of this event. Each and every one of us understands the importance of this topic and the need to create fintech ecosystem and as an environment to nurture and grow startups. Fintech development is one of the key priorities of the National Bank of Ukraine. Development of innovation in the financial sector is among the 12 strategic initiatives included in the NBU Strategy 2025. In addition, we approved Fintech Strategy Development 2025 in the NBU. This is our plan for creating in Ukraine a full-fledged fintech ecosystem that will offer cutting-edge financial solutions and accessible digital services. The key objectives of the National Bank of Ukraine in this field are as follows. First, transitioning most market players towards open banking, innovative product testing by the respective sandbox to 16-20 products per year. Then, balanced development of all fintech areas. Fourth, spread of innovation technologies in supervisory and regulatory processes. And last one, improving digital and financial literacy of the public, as well as training of professionals on the market. We are also gradually creating the system of requirements to the open banking. Regulation on remote customer identification methods have been put in place. At the moment, the National Bank of Ukraine works on its vision and together with the Ministry of Digital Transformation, we are looking for the use cases for the central bank's digital currency, e-hryvnia. In late June, Ukrainian Parliament adopted a new law of Ukraine on payment services. The law implements provision of the PSD2 European Directive and will give a powerful impetus to the fintech market. In Ukraine, this will lay the groundwork for further development of innovative payment products and services. New participants will be able to enter the financial market, contributing to an increase in healthy competition. All of the above makes this summit a very important event for me. As today's event is aimed, among other things, at the support of fintech startups, creative business ideas that will bolster the financial innovation. By opening the regulatory sandbox, encouraging the open banking implementation and our openness to innovative solutions, we want to show that we are ready for the fintech businesses and invite the fintech community to do business in Ukraine. I want you to know that in our country, you have the market regulator in your corner. On that note, I wish us a meaningful discussion. And I hope you enjoy this event. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Kirilo. And more welcoming words are coming from Valery Krasovsky, the CEO and founder of Sigma Software Group, co-founder at Inspirium Laboratories Fund, and board member at Sigma Software Labs Incubator. Valery is going to join us from Kiev.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I really wanted to be together with you in London, but unfortunately, due to pandemic restrictions, wasn't able to do that. But it's not the last time, hopefully, that we are gathering in such a great team. So it's a great pleasure for me to be together with such an honored guests and our co-organizers. And I would like to start with saying thank you to all of the honored speakers and the co-organizers of this event. To Mikhailo Fedorov, Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, to Baroness Mayer, Ukraine Prime Minister, UK Prime Minister, Trade, Envy to Ukraine, Kirilo Shevchenko, Governor at the National Bank of Ukraine, Julia Hoggett, CEO of London Stock Exchange Group, and Nicola Watkinson, the Managing Director of International Trade and Investment at TheCityUK, and of course to Vadim Pristaiko, the Ambassador of the Ukraine to the United Kingdom. And obviously to the whole organization of Embassy of Ukraine in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. We have started our company as 5 co-founders in 2002 in Ukraine. That was our startup. Sigma Software has grown from that time up to 1,500 people in Ukraine, and the whole Sigma group unites more than 9,000 people in 20 countries. We work in 3 main business areas. So it's IT service business, it's angel and VC investment business in Ukraine, the UK, Sweden, America, and integration businesses. So far, we have invested in more than a dozen software product companies. And our clients for IT services are such well-known brands like IKEA, Volvo, Verizon, Orange Telecom. When it comes to software product companies, we simply help them to find new markets through our customer base and raise money throughout our VC connections. The UK is one of our primary markets for IT service business, and we have a lot of customers there. We often do such initiatives like this summit with our partners, and the last ones we have done before pandemic, it was the Ukrainian days at the London Tech Week in 2019. And currently, we are running also virtual Ukraine trade mission to the UK. So following these previous successful projects, we are organizing this very first UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. I'm very happy about that. So I would like to say a couple very important facts and words about Ukrainian IT sector and industry. We have reached $6 billion annually, and this is generated from mostly IT service business in Ukraine, and we are currently number 2 after agriculture in Ukrainian export. We have more than 5,000 IT companies, approximately 2,500 software engineers and experts, around 2,000, 3,000 startups, many VC funds. Over the past 6 years, Ukrainian startups raised over $2 billion in venture capital investments, and we already have a couple of unicorns. You know these companies probably, it's Grammarly, GitLab, and some others. Ukraine is among the 50 most innovative economies in the world, and it's not just about the words. We can simply go out from our homes with just your mobile phone, because everywhere, mostly everywhere, you can pay wireless with the phone, and thanks to Mikhailo Fedorov and his ministry, we currently have all the other documents in our phone too. The passport to be able to fly locally and use in any organization like hotels, banks, also driving license, insurance for the car, and the registration. Everything is in our phones. 21 Ukrainian service companies are included into the global outsourcing 100 list. Also, more than 100 Fortune 500 companies have chosen Ukraine IT services. Also, few words about fintech in Ukraine. Our fintech industry is currently entering the next, more mature phase of its journey, and Ukraine is really innovative when it comes to modern fintech solutions. We have around 150 companies operating at the market, and half of them are already working with international customers. We already have some very successful and modern companies that we use in our day-to-day life, like Monobank, Fondi, and others, who I'm sure will be of great interest to our British partners. This event is a great opportunity for British and Ukrainian companies and thought leaders to get acquainted with each other, to reveal new, strong business opportunities, find long-term partners, and for startups, obviously, find investments and new partners. So thank you so much for your attention, and I wish us a very happy and productive summit.
Thank you very much, Valery, for this truly insightful speech. And ladies and gentlemen, our dear audience, I would like to remind you that this is live from London and Kiev. And I would like to give the floor to Katya Lang from our London studio.
And we are back here in London. Thank you so much, Valery and Angelika. And now I think it's a good time to express gratitude to the UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit organisers, Sigma Software Group, Embassy of Ukraine in the UK, TheCityUK, and London Stock Exchange. With that, I think we are ready to start our UK fintech ecosystem overview. And now I'm excited to welcome Nicola Watkinson, Managing Director, International Trade and Investment at TheCityUK, the industry-led body representing UK-based financial and professional services, an industry that contributes to over 10% of the UK's total economic output. Welcome, Nicola. And Nicola is joining us online.
We're really very proud from the City UK to be associated with the Ukrainian UK Fintech Summit. As you mentioned, the City UK is a representative of the UK-based financial and professional services industry. We represent the whole spectrum of the industry, from banks to insurance, to investment firms, lawyers, accountants, management consultants, and of course to fintechs as well. Our industry is one of the most outward-looking in the world, and so we're really delighted to be supporting the Ukraine-UK relationship and to build new ties with innovative businesses in both markets. On a personal note, I wanted to add to the fabulous words that we heard from Deputy Prime Minister Fedorov. I had the opportunity to be in Kyiv in November of 2019, just before COVID lockdown took place. And I can say that I was really struck by the innovation that I saw in the country. There were new businesses popping up all over the city. There was fabulous design work, a really young and well-educated workforce who spoke excellent English, and a real spirit of entrepreneurship, which I think is so important to the future success of the fintech world. But my job today is to talk to you a little bit about the UK ecosystem for fintech. And I want to do that in three parts. First, just to give you a few features of the fintech ecosystem here. Secondly, to look at why the ecosystem is successful. And then thirdly, and most importantly perhaps, to talk about how we can deepen the cooperation between the fintech hubs in Ukraine and the UK. So let me start with the key features of the fintech ecosystem. As Baroness Myers mentioned, the UK has one of the world's top fintech hubs. If we look at where investment is going, we can just see how diverse the fintech industry here is. The investment started with some of the challenger banks like Sterling and Atom, but funding is now going into a whole range of solutions around wealth management, around alternative lending, blockchain, digital currencies, insurtech, and of course, digital payments. And the UK government knows that fintech is an important ingredient in the recipe for the future success of the UK as an international financial centre. That ability to innovate and adapt is going to be a key to every market's success as we look to tackle all the challenges, whether it be COVID or climate change, and the rapid digitalization of our services industries. And fintech is a key element that we need to be able to get right for our country's success. So what is it that makes a UK fintech ecosystem so successful? Well, one big advantage that fintech companies based in the UK have is the presence of full-service financial and professional services industry. This means that if you're a UK-based fintech company, you can benefit from sitting alongside venture capital firms, as well as world-class regulators, lawyers, accelerators, professional advisors, and of course universities that are producing the workforce of the future, as well as pushing the boundaries of research in areas like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and deep machine learning. And as they grow, they benefit from ready access to the UK capital markets, and we'll hear more from Julia in a moment about that, as well as from leading financial institutions from all over the world that make their home in London. So it's a whole offering that creates the setting for innovation and growth here. But there are a couple of features I really did just want to highlight for Ukrainian fintechs that are growing fast and looking to expand globally. The first of these is the Sandbox initiative here in the UK, which was started by the Financial Conduct Authority. This allows firms to test their solutions in a safe regulatory space and find out if their technologies will work here in the UK and make any of the tweaks that are necessary. The second is cost. The UK has made it really cheap and easy to register and launch a fintech. And the third is the access to free help that is available here. The TheCityUK, for example, is working on, has launched a report on launching a fintech here. It provides detailed information on how to register your company, on IP and regulation and labour law. And our colleagues at Innovate Finance also provide a lot of free advice. But we know that you cannot rest on what you have today. You have to keep building on it. And so the UK government recently commissioned a report by Ron Khalifa, who many of you would know is the founder of WorldPay. And he recommended a whole set of areas where there was opportunity to grow, and also looked at what was needed to support that growth. So that one of the couple of the recommendations I wanted to highlight are the development of a scale box to sit alongside the sandbox to support companies to keep testing as they grow and expand. The second is to put a real focus on trade and investment, so to support Ukrainian fintechs coming into the UK, and also to help UK companies who want to go to the Ukraine to export and to set up operations there. And finally, to foster more collaboration through the Centre of Finance and Innovation and Technology. So we're really excited to be able to keep building on the ecosystem. But now to the real question. How can we deepen our UK-Ukrainian fintech cooperation? Well, the first thing to say is that the UK industry really does have a global mindset, and it loves to support growth and work in all markets. At the TheCityUK, we work to develop ties with our industry and partners in international markets so we can really drive trade and investment opportunities. We've brought together fintech partnerships around the world, from the US to Israel, Turkey, and Kazakhstan. And we work with our UK embassies to create forums, working groups, and task forces that allow companies to network, to share ideas, to facilitate investment, and to build new partnerships. So as the UK and Ukrainian government continue to develop a new and exciting strategic partnership, we are ready and really keen to work with the people here today to help lead new UK-Ukrainian fintech initiatives. The more we work together, the more we can learn from each other and build flourishing fintech hubs that create high-value jobs, sustainable growth, and drive new investment in both our economies. So I hope we all get to enjoy all the sessions today, and we look forward to working in an ongoing way to keep building this important new partnership. Thank you very much.
Infrastructure and data group that has been supporting financial stability and growth globally for over 300 years. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, as was said, I'm Julia Hoggett, the CEO of the London Stock Exchange. Firstly, let me apologise for not being able to be with you in person today. I, like many other people in the UK this week, have experienced the digital revolution at first hand. Early this morning, I was pinged by the NHS COVID app, and I therefore have to self-isolate. I would very much have liked to have been able to attend in person, and it's my pleasure to speak at this inaugural UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit alongside our esteemed partners, TheCityUK, the Embassy of Ukraine, the National Bank of Ukraine, Fintech Scotland, and Sigma Software Group. I wanted to start my remarks by saying how delighted I am that this event is taking place in London, one of the world's leading digital hubs, a city founded on the principles of creativity and innovation. Today, there are over 3,000 fintechs headquartered in London, more than in New York or San Francisco. London is home to fintech unicorns such as Wise, Starling Bank, Monzo, Checkout.com, and Revolut, and represents more than 10% of the global market share in fintech. There are also more than 140 accelerators and incubators in London. Many specialise in fintech, such as Rise by Barclays, Fintech Innovation Lab, Level 39, and Startup Bootcamp Lab. Equally importantly, as Nicola has mentioned, the UK financial regulator, the Financial Conduct Authority, and indeed my former employer, has long been serving as a catalyst for competition and innovation in this sector. Its digital sandbox enables fintechs to test their products in the real market. And this illustrates the overarching supportive ecosystem that the UK has and is continuing to build for fintechs. Last year, London led Europe in VC fintech investment with upwards of $4.5 billion invested. That represented almost half of all European fintech investment. With $5.3 billion of fintech VC transactions completed in London so far in 2021, few cities in the world can match London for its deep pools of capital and committed investors. It also strikes me that the UK has taken a particularly British approach to how it talks about its fintech sector. We may have Silicon Valley in the US, but we ascribe particularly British framings to our technology hubs in the UK. Silicon Fen in Cambridge, Silicon Glen in Scotland. And for those of you who spend time in London traffic, perhaps most British of all, Silicon Roundabout near Old Street. Perhaps slightly more low-key, but just as impactful. It's also fantastic to see today's summit showcasing Ukraine's fast-developing fintechs. I'd like to congratulate the National Bank of Ukraine on all the work they're doing as the market regulator in order to promote innovation and competition within Ukraine's growing fintech sector. All the various work streams that are set in motion, such as the regulatory sandbox for testing of innovations and the online Centre for Digital Financial Literacy, send a strong positive signal to the international investor community. I'm confident that events like these will help create greater awareness of Ukraine's reforms aimed at building an innovation-driven economy and transforming Ukraine's financial sector. In that context, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on how the London Stock Exchange supports the financial technology and the broader technology sector, and how it's becoming a core part of our market. Today, the London Stock Exchange is home to over 200 listed tech and consumer internet companies, including 18 fintech companies from across the UK and overseas. In total, worth $240 billion in market cap. The variety of these companies is humbling, from those that consider themselves to be startups to global unicorns, operating across sectors including hardware, security, e-commerce, gaming, marketplaces, and of course, fintech. Technology companies are increasingly becoming the most active new entrants to our market. In the first half of 2021, technology or tech-enabled companies raised over $7.5 billion via 25 IPOs, representing over 50% of all the equity capital raised at IPO on the London Stock Exchange. Companies such as Darktrace, Alphawave, and Trustpilot have chosen to join the public markets in London, driven by their desire to access one of the deepest and most internationally diverse pools of liquidity in the world. The UK's globally respected legal and regulatory system, providing the framework for strong corporate governance, disclosure, and transparency, and allowing investors to invest with confidence, and for those companies to raise capital to pursue their exciting future growth ambitions. Fintech in particular has been a very active sector, with high-profile founder-led IPOs such as PensionBee and Caspi. The PensionBee float was particularly interesting for a number of reasons, including that it was backed by a female founder and CEO, whose aim was to disrupt the pension industry by simplifying pension savings. Caspi's IPO from Kazakhstan is the best-performing fintech IPO of the past 12 months on our markets. It's had a remarkable journey, having tripled its market value to exceed $20 billion compared to $6.5 billion at IPO last October. To kick off the third quarter just last week, we saw the direct listing of Wise, formerly known as TransferWise, the global fintech company that's created a more transparent way to enable consumers like you and me to move money around the world. This was the largest listing on London Stock Exchange by a technology company ever, and with a market cap of $8 billion after the initial uncrossing. And it was trading with a market cap of over £9.6 billion at market close yesterday. We're also delighted to have played a part in supporting Ukraine's continuing journey in the international capital markets. London Stock Exchange is home to 9 Ukrainian companies listed across the main market and AIM. And this year, we've welcomed 2 bond listings by the Ukrainian sovereign and by the State Road Agency. The recent international Eurobond issuings combined have raised just under $2 billion and was several times oversubscribed. I know from first-hand experience as a debt capital markets banker covering Central and Eastern Europe after the fall of the Iron Curtain, just how important and impactful international capital markets issuance is in building the profile of sovereign nations. I came to the London Stock Exchange in large measure because LSEG as a group has a declared public purpose to drive financial stability, empower economies, and enable our clients and customers to create sustainable growth. These successful issuances demonstrate the UK and Ukrainian markets can collaborate to do just that. I must also say on a very personal note that that's why it was a particularly proud moment for me to welcome Ambassador Prystaiko to the London Stock Exchange to mark the listing of the Ukrainian sovereign bond as my first ever market open as CEO of the London Stock Exchange. To finish, I'd like to congratulate the Ukrainian government and Ukraine's businesses on all the progress achieved so far in diversifying Ukraine's economy and fostering global capital inflows. I believe that the London Stock Exchange is well placed to enable Ukraine's fast-growing and ambitious fintechs to access the world's most international capital market. I hope that this summit will be a stepping stone towards even closer cooperation between the UK and Ukrainian fintech sectors. We at London Stock Exchange stand ready to provide all the necessary guidance and support for this extremely important initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judith. Very nice to hear that Ukrainian ecosystem is going to be supported here. Now, I think it's time to move to the presentation of the fintech ecosystem in Ukraine and find out what's going on there. And there is no better person positioned to do so than Kate Shiglova-Goldfinch, Senior Project Manager on Fintech Market, Digital Technologies and Regulatory Platforms Development at the National Bank of Ukraine, EBRD. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much, Katya. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today, to be a part of this great event, Ukrainian British Fintech Summit, first ever, and being a part of London Tech Week. So, as Katya said, yeah, I'm Senior Project Manager on Fintech Market, Digital Technologies Regulatory Platforms at the National Bank of Ukraine and the BRD project. Over the last 5 years, I've been deeply integrating in global Fintech community and Ukrainian one. And at the moment, all together with the NBU team, we are launching Regulatory Sandbox, and I am delighted to represent Ukrainian Fintech ecosystem. Being a regular participant of global events, I'm quite often asked the question, Kate, Ukraine is an emerging market. Do you really have Fintech? So my presentation will be about what is Ukrainian Fintech. And it is up to 150 fintechs, tech fins, bank challengers, neobanks, and incumbents creating cool user experience and designing digital era products, understanding the importance and values of open API ecosystems, and learning more on how to transform their business models into new way. The core elements of Ukrainian fintech markets, it is growing cashless economy, advanced and the diversity-focused fintech community, and forward-thinking regulator with deep understanding of how to develop financial innovations and a strategic view on that. Let's consider each element in details. What is growing cashless economy? So in first quarter 2025, cashless transactions led to payment card transactions, both in numbers and in value. Now, 9 out of 10 transactions in the same period of time were cashless. It is almost 90% of the total number of payment card transactions and 61% in value. 89% of payment terminals at the moment support contactless payments in Ukraine. Also, we have a very interesting survey made by MasterCard in June this year. It is about Ukrainian customers' payment preferences. And what we have, so this research covered 1,500 respondents from 18 till 60 years old. And so what we have on this survey, 49% are ready to completely switch to non-cash payments within 2-5 years. 37% choose a smartphone with NFC for their everyday payments. 39% dynamic. So it is competing right now with traditional banks. Cybersecurity and anti-fraud, the next slide, please, is very promising, as well as RegTech and ecosystem solutions and providers. We have also developing a segment like personal finance, wealth management, legal tech, digital comparison tools, and media segment as well developed. Next slide, please. Let's consider what we have on Ukrainian fintech market evolution, and next one, please. So what we see is in 1990s, we practically didn't have any fintechs. And the explosion became like on 2013. So up to the research of Ukrainian Fintech Association, UAFIC, made in 2020, most of the Ukrainian fintech companies were founded 3-5 years old. Next slide, please. And next one. So let's have a look on Ukrainian fintech market trends. So right now I'm participating at London Fintech Week, and it was interesting for me to compare trends on Ukrainian markets with global ones, and I would say that we follow absolutely global trends. So let's I have here like my top 10. It's cashless-driven society and API-driven financial markets. It's financial inclusion as a core. Digital and omni-channel focused business models are in progress, and open banking implementation is very important. Embedded finance, it's everyone in that process to implement it. Remote customer identification and verification is very important, a core element for fintech market development. Competition and open fintech ecosystem development. Different BaaS, SaaS platforms are in progress on the market. We have quite specific detail of our fintech market. It is expert focused, and so it is quite important for our startups to scale their products and services abroad. Innovative regulatory approaches. It is about RegTech and regulatory sandboxes and small revolution in cooperation in between private and public sectors. And a sure data-driven market. So we have very strong data science data science community in Ukraine, and it helps to develop this direction. And what do we have still to improve? So definitely we need to provide more opportunities on testing facilities and testing legal framework for marketplace to shorten time to market, and regulatory sandbox will help in that. Also, outdated legislation, we're still working on that, and regulatory sandbox also will help us to find the gaps and to fill in that gaps and to improve and to go ahead. Investments and capital raise opportunities. So it's about cross-sectoral cooperation and fintech ecosystem development. And what we do right now, we are communicating, we are open to global community, and it will bring us new opportunities in investment capital raise. Talent pool development and growth, it's very important. If you don't have talents, don't have professionals ready to implement those innovations, so you will not proceed. And we have a number of academic programs and initiatives and learning programs for professionals on the market to go ahead and to have more professionals ready to implement innovations. And new communications approaches, it's also about those private-public dialogue. We need to create new communication platforms, easygoing and open, just to go ahead and our Ukrainian fintech to go. So thanks a lot for your attention. My email is on the slide, so if you have any queries, please feel free to contact me. And so thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kate. Sorry for all the technical delays. We're all used to that now with the COVID, as you know. At this stage, I'd like to give a big shout out to our media partners that gave us tremendous support. They are Emerging Europe, UK Investor Magazine, Fintech Magazine, Fintech Finance, Fintech Review, Payments, Cards and Mobile, Fintech B2B Marketing, Financial IT, and Always Friday. Not Always Friday, there we go. So stay tuned, and after a short video, we will proceed with a panel discussion that will unveil the future of fintech.
Thank you very much, Katya. Thank you very much, dear audience. We are really excited because the next panel will unleash something really amazing. What the future of fintech look like? And I would like to welcome you to the short break, and then we'll start with our visionary panel. and gentlemen, welcome back. We are very happy to see you at the UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. And now we are ready to start with a really exciting panel, the Visionary panel. So I would like to give the floor to London studio.
And there we go. Welcome to the Visionary panel. This panel will discuss the future of fintech. We'll discuss some fintech trends, and most crucially, we'll answer the question, can fintech support the economic recovery post-pandemic? Over to you. Now I will introduce our moderator, Andrew Robel, the founding partner at Emerging Europe, a London-based intelligence, news and community platform, and the leader of Tech Emerging Europe Advocates. Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. It's fantastic to be over here and join the Visionary panel and the summit, the FinTech Summit here in London and in Kiev. So over the last 12, 15 months, we managed to cram a decade's worth adoption of various technologies. And when it comes to FinTech, it is said that 2021 is going to be even bigger when it comes to the developments. In this very panel, we're going to look at some trends, we're going to look at regulatory frameworks, and we're going to look at collaboration and competition, and finally, recovery that Katya mentioned in the introduction. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my panel. I'll start with our guests here next to myself. So Alexei Shaban, the Deputy Governor of the National Bank of Ukraine, Tom Bull, Head of Fintech UK Financial Services at EY, and John Broxson, Managing Director, Open Banking Europe, who is joining us as well. All right, so just the very first question that I would like to ask you guys. When we look at the last 12, 15 months, what were the biggest developments that you think will create the future or impact the future of fintech going forward? Alexei, can I start with you?
Okay, maybe 2 points. Last year, the National Bank of Ukraine allowed commercial banks and non-banking financial institutions to make AML procedures remotely and let banks to open accounts remotely. I would say this is the start of new era of remote banking, the digital first and digital only banking in Ukraine. And the second one is the adoption of Ukrainian Parliament, Verkhovna Rada, new law on payment services, the law that will implement in Ukrainian legislation European Payment Services Directive 2, and it's the way for the open banking in Ukraine.
So these are the things that we're also going to touch on during our sort of regulatory framework part. But there have been sort of external forces that have, encouraged businesses and entrepreneurs to come up with new ideas to respond to the challenges of the pandemic. For example, we have been forced to pay as much contactless as possible. So what kind of trends do you think have been developed because of that, because of the pandemic, clearly?
Yes, you are quite right. You are absolutely right. The move toward contactless, cashless and contactless payments is the trend in Ukraine as well as in whole world. Yes, there is a significant growth of fintech firms in not only in payments, in Okay, страхование.
Insurance.
Insurance, yes. New trends in, I'm sorry.
That's all right. So insurance, cashless payments.
Cashless payments, lending, and this is, and maybe anti-fraud and security services. These three areas, these three industries that have a significant growth last year.
John, Tom, what do you see as the sort of biggest pushers or the areas that will develop, significantly over the next, let's say, 12 months because of COVID?
I guess the COVID crisis impacted different parts of the fintech industry kind of so differently, and that's going to take a little while to play out. So, our clients in the lending market, for example, very quickly here in the UK responded to the government stimulus schemes and were involved in the B-balls and C-balls, various kind of government guaranteed loans. And we're able to very quickly mobilise on that because of the strength of their digital platforms, etc. Some of the neobanks, things slowed down a little bit initially, particularly often they were geared around travel spend, etc. So that caused a bit of a slowdown. But then equally, in the kind of enablement space, those kind of anti-fraud platforms, the kind of cloud-based banking platforms, we've really just seen the crisis as a major enabler and kind of accelerator of that kind of digital transformation. We've seen major funding rounds by those kinds of organisations, in the last kind of number of months. And recent data published this week by Innovate Finance showed $5.7 billion of investment into UK fintech in the first kind of half of the year, already exceeding last year's numbers. So we kind of get the sense that the industry is kind of gearing up to kind of deal with a phase of acceleration, frankly, as we kind of emerge from the crisis and as some of the kind of long-run drivers of digitization really come into play. John is also with us, I guess.
Sure. I hope you can hear me, everybody. Good afternoon. Yeah, thanks. I think to echo Tom a bit, that there's been a huge push for digitalization and change over the last 10 years, really, 5 years. Now, COVID, of course, has brought this to the fore, but it's a trend that's been going on where the financial institutions, the fintechs have been coming to the fore with blockchain, cryptocurrencies, with AI, with cloud, with big data. And certainly the acceleration in payments has come on apace in those last years. And not only that, but the regulators have realized that there's a whole economy that's being built outside of the normal, let's say, banking rails, possibly outside of their supervision, and have become slightly concerned that something like the 2007 financial crisis could reemerge following the things moving off balance. So I think that the regulators have clearly stepped in and done a lot of work pushing regulation forward. And you asked originally what was one of the biggest trends in the last couple of years that have come through. So, 2019, September 2019, Europe's PSD2 came into effect, which launched open banking into Europe. And that's really been a big and of course, I have to say the UK's CMA order for open banking going in slightly before that. And those two factors have been a big catalyst for the rest of the world to look at a national level in country by country to say, well, what should we be doing for open banking, for open finance, and in fact for open data, which is a very exciting prospect. And COVID comes along, and of course, suddenly you've got all these people who maybe hadn't done so much online commerce, maybe not used internet so much for their purchasing and their daily household tasks, turning it onto it en masse, and you have a real popularization effect that means not only must the systems that are there work, but you get all sorts of fraud opportunities and all sorts of other risks that come into the fore, and people have to be protected from those. And so the cycle continues. So I think there's been a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth still to come. And it's that endless dance between bringing fast new services that are exciting and work in ways we'd never imagined, and then protecting people from some of those services, and at the extremes, perhaps people who are not so experienced in them, for making mistakes. And that's the balance that will be got right over the next years, as we want something to watch.
I think the fraud part is really serious. I have to admit that over the last couple of weeks, I have gotten, quite a few text messages encouraging me to, click and obviously be, in a less safe situation with my funds and money. You circled back. I'd like to circle back to the services part that you mentioned, because it seems to me that we're going to see more of a sort of integration between things like social media, e-commerce, payments. So I would like to focus a little bit on the services that are going to emerge, in the next few years, and those services that have been somehow accelerated by the pandemic. What would you see as the sort of most important trend here?
I think online commerce is I think online commerce is certainly a massive one. The ability for people to buy at a click, and the delivery and the tracking and the trust that's come. I think certainly Amazon has done incredibly well out of it, but there's all sorts of others now, trying to catch up on that one. Possibly more interestingly and excitingly, it will be some of the services that will come forward around digital identity, as we do more and more things in a digital way, perhaps hiring smart cars where we just walk up and pick them up and drive off in them and leave them somewhere, being able to pick up packages from locations that aren't necessarily our own house. There's a lot around identity that will be needed to make sure that the person who's actually driving the car is the same person who's getting paid, or the person who picks up that package is that same person. But I'm sure Tom and the others are going to come up with 20 other examples of things that will change our lives as we go forward.
I think I'm excited to see the development of the kind of banking app from something that is effectively just a list of transactions of kind of pluses and minuses on the screen to something that's much more intuitive and helpful in kind of managing your financial affairs, and able to kind of make linkages to kind of real world problems you might be facing. It's interesting to see a number of our clients focusing on things like the management of subscriptions within the app. So, more and more so, we've signed up for many different kind of subscription services. It's hard to keep track of them all. And we've actually seen some of our banking clients face quite significant demand on their contact centres through managing disputes around subscriptions that have kind of overrun, or there's been a disagreement with the customer. So I think we'll see that kind of banking apps evolve from much more than that kind of really dull view of debits and credits to something much more intuitive. And what needs to support that is quite a significant growth in the kind of capability that sits behind that. And that's a kind of a shift from really vanilla marketing or segment-based campaigns through to next best actions, or kind of contextualized real-time personalization of the information and suggestions that are served to you within the app. The other big development that we follow closely is the kind of development of a kind of a more API-enabled kind of financial services sector, and not just in regard to open banking, but a more general approach by banks to think about how do we get products kind of closer to the point of need of the client, rather than having them kind of wrapped up in the bank's own service channels, be that the app, the branch, the website, and therefore developments around developing the API channel in such a way that it's really an attractive one for partners to work with, and for those services to get embedded into a retail journey or a car buying journey, or an insurance product at the point of a purchase of a vehicle, etc., is a really exciting one that I think kind of unlocks those services and gets them much closer to the customer.
Alexei?
I would like to talk about Ukraine, and I can say that last year the Ecom won the first round on traditional merchants, traditional shops and stores in a volume. And I think that maybe next year the Ecom will win the second round in a quality of transactions. And now, as for me, Ukrainian Ecom, it's about user experience. And providers of e-shops, providers of payment services to Ecom compete in better user experience, better client experience. And maybe the third trend in Ukrainian Ecom is a shift from card-based transactions to more cheaper but fast account-based transactions. So,
Thank you very much for that. Do you think that big technological companies that are sort of less present in financial services will want to get hold of that market in some way as well going forward because of what we have been observing for the last 12 months, Tom?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, firms recognize it's a valuable market, and there are, many unmet customer needs to be addressed, and I think the big tech companies, always respond to that. They tend to like to build, to the extent possible, global platforms, and I think the financial services world, with its kind of different regulations, even within markets that have got a degree of harmonization, the reality is often quite detailed market to market has been a big inhibitor, and one of the factors that's prevented that in the last kind of 10 years or so. But bit by bit, we see, often through partnership between big tech players and forward-thinking financial institutions, developments that show that kind of shift is starting to happen. Interesting announcements this week around, Apple and Goldman Sachs developing a kind of buy now, pay later product. And we, tend to look at that market and think some really strong underlying fundamentals there around creating payment patterns and kind of feature functionality that e-com customers are going to really respond well to, compared with, presenting a piece of plastic at the point of sale. It seems to have suddenly become an awful lot less relevant in the current environment. So I think the shift is happening. It's been slow in a way because of the kind of unique features of kind of regulatory or regulated market. But particularly, I think partnership is starting to shift that.
We're going to talk about collaboration in a little bit. John, would you like to add something to that when it comes to those big tech companies entering or strengthening their position on the market?
I think it's hard to go further in that without starting to talk about collaboration, which perhaps you want to come to in a moment. So I'm going to dive into that now, or hold on for you to introduce that piece. But otherwise, I'd agree with Tom. And then maybe only one other thing to add is that there's a lot of Asian, Chinese big tech companies out there that are really eager to get on board into the European, UK, Ukrainian space as well. It's not just the GAFAs that we sort of look for, but there is a very innovative, massively innovative, and hugely scaled operations out of some of the Asian large tech companies.
Let's move on to cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And do you think any development will happen here? Yeah. And again, an open question.
Yeah.
Alexei.
Yes, of course. Of course. As mentioned, Mr. Fedorov, we are on the starting point of allowing operations with virtual actives and digital currencies in particular in Ukraine, and there are a lot of companies blockchain developers based in Ukraine and waiting for this opportunity. And I can say that I have maybe three or four ideas and let's say demand from fintech companies to make products of exchanging and custody services, exchange of virtual cryptocurrencies and custodian services for Ukrainian banks and their customers. There's a huge interest, and I can tell that Ukraine considers like one of 10 countries in Ukraine in turnover of virtual assets actually. So we are waiting for big buzz, big boom in Ukraine for companies who develop technologies.
Mm-hmm. Tom, John?
Yeah, to me it feels super early stage in the development of what will just be a revolutionary force impacting the industry in the next decade or so. I think the opportunities, particularly around kind of programmable money and the concept of kind of easing customer pain points around payments through kind of programmability, I find exciting. I think the kind of public policy questions that ultimately arise, particularly through the involvement of stable coins or potential move by central banks to introduce digital currencies, are very significant. At the end of the day, the kind of fractional reserve banking system we have, commercial deposits as a way of underpinning lending, which finances the real economy, could potentially come under threat if there's a more attractive, more convenient alternative to putting money in the bank. And of course, if central banks offer those types of services, that'd be incredibly appealing for customers. If it represents a kind of totally risk-free option. So I think there's kind of big public policy questions to come. There's no doubt a lot more technology development to really enable those networks to run at scale. But overall, sort of tremendously excited about genuinely novel technology being deployed in the sector.
John, anything to add?
Yeah, I think at the risk of being the guy who said that the Beatles would never really amount to anything, I think that the sort of Bitcoin blockchain as a currency isn't so exciting. I do think, Thomas just alluded to the big regulatory dialogue in this, and of course, if central banks decide to operate in a different way, this will have very big effects on the economies. But I don't think that's because somebody else will start creating currency that we'll all start using. I think it will be always a very regulated sphere. And so the idea that somebody else will start a currency and we'll all start using it, I think, apart from some edge cases, such as money laundering and ransoming, it's not going to be so big. Having said that, I think blockchain as a technology will be massive, and we'll be using it, and we do use it more than we realize today. It's just it'll be hidden away because it's technology rather than really a service. So that's my feeling on blockchain.
Okay, thank you. Earlier today, we heard Julia talking obviously about the recent direct listing of Wise, and I just wanted to ask you also about the sort of the market, the companies, the startups as well. How do you see that part developing, and where do you see sort of new trends emerging? John, maybe I'll ask you to start.
Yeah, sure. I think we've already gone through a little bit of a cycle where certainly in the European space, we saw a lot of companies, a lot of startups, the fintech starting up with big ambitions to topple the banks who would no longer be needed because their innovative, fantastic, revolutionary services would come along and give us something we'd never seen before. And the banks, of course, say, well, no, this isn't what we do. We're not interested in this fintech stuff. We carry on as we are. And then over time, the two parties have moved together. The fintechs realised that they cannot scale up. That the world is from a regulatory perspective much more complex than they thought. And the idea of bringing millions and even low billions of people onto a platform is really something that's incredibly difficult, and they're probably not going to be the next Google in themselves. Whereas they've found that in the end, that the people using them most are actually the banks. And the banks have started collaboration programs with them. The banks have realized that they are providing better reporting services than the banks can themselves. And so they're starting to license that software, and they're starting to use those services. And I've always sort of felt that, well, if a bank isn't a financial technology company, what is a financial technology company? So I think we've already gone through a pace where the idea that new entrants will come along and knock out the existing, let's say, high street bank is something of a myth. But having said that, they've definitely got a place, and they've really moved innovation along for the entire ecosystem. And so now we're starting to use services. I'm an HSBC customer. I've got HSBC services that I know are actually being delivered in an outsourcing way by some of these fintechs. So I think that collaboration piece is really exciting and bringing progress to the normal person a lot faster than these guys would on their own.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So do you think we're going to see more sort of fintech unicorns going forward? Tom, Alexei?
Yeah, I think inevitably so. We obviously already a unicorn, but we saw the huge capital raise by Revolut today. I think we'll see many more as investors who are, of course, generally in a fairly yield-starved environment, look to the new technology enablers who are able to really enable new business models, enable more traditional institutions to embrace cloud technology, make more efficient or more effective processes. There's an absolutely huge need for those kind of services within the financial services market. So I absolutely think so. And I think that kind of B2B kind of spot is a hot one, because many of the big banks have very constrained research and development budgets, face numerous challenges around kind of innovation due to cultural factors, just the dynamics of working in a large complex organization place some constraints on that. So those clients increasingly look to the fintech market and partners to support them on that digitalization journey, and they increasingly do so with a lot of rigor. So where we support clients in that space, often there's real thought about complementary capability. What are the attributes in an effective partner? What kind of benchmark factors can we tick off against those attributes to say, yeah, we feel very comfortable that this is the right partner. And I think that leads to some very kind of sound strategic thinking on partnership as a key digital enabler.
Do you think there are particular sort of areas within the sort of fintech environment that offer extremely interesting opportunities right now?
I think kind of RegTech is probably a very big one, and that has a number of flavors. Of course, we've already seen many accounts. As Alexei mentioned earlier, enabling you to kind of use a selfie to onboard into a bank, etc. So those ID and V providers are already reaching real scale. But there's kind of more kind of bigger, thornier problems around how can you make the whole of the compliance function more efficient? How can you get a real lineage between new regulations and requirements, linking those through to business processes, controls, and getting a kind of automation of that whole kind of change process when a new piece of regulation comes out. We've seen providers in that space offering horizon scanning or kind of regulator inventories, but we haven't seen many of our clients really kind of master that kind of end-to-end art of kind of implementing that kind of seamless lineage of of thinking from new regs through all their business process and control functions. So that's a big one. Of course, the huge elephant in the room perhaps is the kind of concept of banking cores, like the kind of core ledgers of the banks, many of those built on very traditional mainframe solutions or kind of legacy code bases. We've seen the neobanks kind of prove the case for cloud-based, entirely public cloud, kind of open source software developed approaches to banking. But it's an awfully long journey for those big traditional players to move in that direction. So lots of work there, but again, some really cool players in that space.
So we've already been talking about the regulatory framework to some extent, but I would like to focus a little bit more on open banking right now. And obviously, we've seen developments here, but I wanted to ask all of you what kind of developments you think we will see going forward, in which directions this development will go. Can I start with Alexei?
Yeah, because I know about demand from for traditional Ukrainian banks. They felt a taste of cooperation with fintechs, and actually, at the moment, they need AI technologies. They need data science, and maybe the next unicorns that you mentioned are in Ukraine now, because Ukrainian fintech is a local story yet. But implementing of European legislation in Ukraine open the doors for exchange, for building international businesses for Ukrainian banks and fintechs.
Thank you. John, I need to ask you about this. So,
yeah, definitely.
Go on.
Yeah. So we're running Open Banking Europe. It's something that we feel we know something about. And definitely, I'd love to see Ukraine. I think they're in a very exciting position where, as with other countries, you can see what the European Commission has done. You can see what the UK has done in terms of putting open banking out there. A lot of things went well, but a lot of things went badly. And there's real opportunity to take the best elements of all of those things and put them out and get an economy like the Ukraine, which is large, well educated, and has real chance of leapfrogging some of the legacy technology that sits in the UK, European, and even American sort of banking, banks to come through and do something very strong. So different countries are in different positions. I think for Europe, it's about tuning what's been done so far, standardizing more. I think one of the big problems in Europe, in the European sense, has been fragmentation. Even in the UK, where only 9 banks were mandated to provide APIs, and they had a very strong central core, those APIs were still too fragmented and too difficult, and it took a lot longer for the fintechs to come in and connect to them than people had expected. Europe has 5,000 banks, and they have completely differing kind of standards and types and methodologies of connecting. So there's a lot more to be done in terms of standardizing what's there. But then, of course, the journey goes from this open banking to open finance and to open data. It's not just banks, it's also insurance companies, pension funds, stockbrokers, managing a whole portfolio of services through one place. And once you can think that far, you can start saying, well, why can't the consumers access health records, telecoms, energy, supplier records, and link all these things together into one experience? So I think there's a whole journey to go down, and the regulators are looking, I know the regulators are looking extremely keenly at all of these things to ensure that it gets put out in an equitable and a fair way. And again, without that fraud and some of the potential risks that we can imagine, the kind of dystopian nightmares we have of somebody completely taking over your identity and your accounts and all your assets as you go forward in a world where your physical presence doesn't count for anything. So So there's a little bit of fear there, but there's a lot of opportunity, and the regulators are really looking at that to see what that right balance is and how to promote innovation without stifling it.
Tom, a very brief response from you.
Yeah, I'm super excited about open banking. I think I'm kind of most excited about developments in the payment space. Obviously, we've seen the implementation kind of largely complete in the UK. We've seen a kind of strong and growing ecosystem of providers in the space, over, I think, now 300 so-called TPPs or kind of regulated open banking players. And we've seen adoption kind of take off pretty well. I think the last published statistic is there have been 3 million unique users, but I'm pretty sure it's heading pretty fast towards 4 million. So the kind of adoption is now pretty rapid. For the first time ever, you can pay your tax return, using open banking. So we're seeing some very interesting and surprising use cases. And what will be really interesting is big development is what's referred to as variable recurring payments, a kind of sort of a digital debit, and that's kind of probably the final milestone in the current kind of roadmap. So excited to see that new payment type come through.
Before we hand over to our studio in Kiev, I just need to ask you the final question, and I want a very brief response because we're here at the UK-Ukraine Summit. So let's very briefly talk about the collaboration and opportunities, for Ukraine and for the UK being, the fintech place in Europe, and Ukraine, one of the countries from Eastern Europe, which really leapfrogged that development of the financial services sector. So where do you see opportunities for that collaboration between Ukraine and the UK? Alexei.
As I mentioned before, the main opportunities in blockchain technologies, programming money, AI technologies, and maybe data science. Maybe.
That was very brief. Thank you very much, Tom.
So I think probably just reflecting on that great experience the UK has had in open banking, sharing those perspectives, I would call out as a big area of opportunity.
John, a brief answer from you.
Yeah, I'd love to see the UK opening its open banking borders to other countries now as well. Now they're out of the European Union. The point is that they can now access other countries and make up their own rules. So if that's what they want to do, they should do it. And Ukraine would be a great partner for them. Again, because it's a large country, not so far away, with a well-educated workforce and population, that they can really make the benefit of the trade deals that they're now putting into place.
Thank you very much, John. So right now, we would like to hand over to Kiev, and we're going to have some questions from the audience, I believe.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you very much, dear panelists, for truly thought-provoking and very intense discussion that actually raised a couple of very interesting questions from our audience. I would like to remind our audience that you're very welcome to ask our dear panelists the questions you would like them to answer, and they will very briefly answer your questions. So right now, I would like to address the question from the audience to John and Thomas. It's a very simple, yet very interesting question. Give us, please, 3 reasons why fintech is the fastest growing sector in the UK's economy. Just summarizing very briefly what has happened with the world and why it is the fastest growing sector in the UK's economy. And my next question will be to Alexei. It comes from our audience. And the question is, what is the National Bank of Ukraine's strategy as a regulator towards the public cloud adoption across the financial services industries in Ukraine? So I think, Andrew, it's time for the panelists to answer these questions, because clearly your panel generated huge interest among our audience. Thank you very much. Would like to give the word back to London.
Tom, would you like to take the first question?
Sure. We spent quite a bit of time actually looking at what really is the DNA of a good fintech ecosystem. And in our analysis, I probably call out probably three key factors on the UK in particular. One is the policy and regulatory environment. Initiatives like the Sandbox, Project Innovate, etc. Yeah, the first Sandbox set a tone of openness, and in practical terms means that it's quite possible to kind of found and fund a fintech business. Secondly, probably call out capital. We heard those big stats around investment flows. A thriving VC and private equity and increasingly public markets ecosystem. And thirdly, probably talent. And that's often from more traditional financial institutions, people who are keen to try a more entrepreneurial career, people keen to try startup life, but with many of those skills learned from the financial sector in regulation and financial markets, etc. So probably call out those three as key kind of real enablers of that growth.
John, would you like to add one or two?
Thing is the smartphone in your pocket. 10 or 15 years ago, it would not have been possible to deliver services right in front of people immediately. Now everybody's got one of these things, and they can use it. So you go on to terminals and hardware. You just use your smartphone. Secondly, expectation. Nobody, especially millennials, Gen Z, and people coming through, are not prepared to sit and wait for a payment to take a day, 2 days, 3 days to get what it wants. They want it, and they want it now. So there's an expectation. And thirdly, the capability of companies. Take an Uber. If we look at payments, you don't even know you're paying. You call your car, it comes, you walk out, and your payment happens kind of seamlessly. This is the kind of service people expect now, but they were not being given that. They were given, as Tom said previously, paper statements with lists of negatives and positives, and so there was a massive opportunity to do better, and we're seeing that happen right now.
And now, Alexei, the question about the national bank strategy.
National bank strategy about public cloud services. Yes, today is a problem. It's a pity using public cloud services for Ukrainian banks, not for all financial markets, not only for Ukrainian banks, is almost prohibited. And yes, we know this problem, and we are working with big international banks on reshaping our national bank regulations, but in line with current law, to allow Ukrainian banks using the cloud services. And yes, we are waiting for adopting by Verkhovna Rada the new law. It's on draft bill postponed from last year, new law on cloud services. But we are working to reshape our policy, our regulations at the moment.
Alexei, thank you. Angelika, over to you.
Thank you so much, Alexei. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you so much, Thomas. And thank you very much, John. Clearly, your panel was really exciting for our audience. That's why I would like to remind everyone that has joined us just right now, you're very welcome to ask our panelists questions because they're very happy to answer them. And now it's a unique opportunity to get your answers on the future of fintech from true visionaries. I would like to express big gratitude to our honorary partners. It's Fintech Scotland, it is National Bank of Ukraine, and it is Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Stay with us, and after a short video pause, we'll proceed with a panel discussion about the key fintech solutions behind the digitalization of banks and businesses. Thank you for your attention. And we are back to the UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. And the next panel is something really very exciting. The next panel will tell us how fintech has transformed businesses. The next panel will unleash key fintech solutions behind the digitalization of banks and businesses. And I would like to give the floor to the studio in London.
Hi again, from London here. So we heard so much on the previous panel about digitalization and how it's going to change the world. But now we are about to hear how exactly it's going to happen. What are the solutions behind it? And I'm very happy to introduce our moderator, Payal Rainer, the founder of the very first B2B fintech marketing community, which is built to connect financial services firms with technology providers. Payal was highly commended as best leader in marketing by the prestigious Global Women in Marketing Awards. Most recently, Payal was recognized in the Innovate Finance Women in Fintech Power List in 2020. Over to you, Payal.
Great, thank you. So hello and welcome everyone. I'm really excited to be moderating the panel where we will be looking at digitalization and especially looking at what are the fintech solutions that are causing and driving digitalization for banks and for businesses. And I am actually joined up by a fantastic panelist. So starting with, I've got Misha Rogalski, co-founder of Koto Bank and Monobank. I've also got Valeria, CEO and co-founder of Fondi. Marino Diaz, Director, Head of Banking and Infrastructure at Transfer, Go and former Barclays and Revolut. And then last but not the least, I have got Ursoy Irzanchi, Economic and Financial Correspondent at Bloomberg HT. So welcome everyone, and perhaps if I can give a quick intro about Misha. So Misha is the co-founder of Monobank, Ukraine's first mobile-only bank, which launched in 2017 and grew to a remarkable 4 million customers within the first 2 years through word of mouth. Monobank's focus on user experience and customer engagement is reflected in their top rating at the App Store and Google Play. And not only this, Misha is also a co-founder of Koto, a UK-based fintech company that provides credit option via mobile banking operations. So it's great, Misha, to have you on board. And then moving on, Valeria. So Valeria is a CEO and co-founder at Fondi, and she launched the Fondi Payment Gateway in 2016 to help SMEs accessing to simple, fuss-free ways of selling online. Fondi's end-to-end solution enables entrepreneurs, merchants, e-commerce, and marketplaces to accept online payments globally in over 150 countries and make local payouts through simple API integration. And Valeria was selected as one of the most prominent women in fintech of 2020 Power List by Innovate Finance. That's brilliant. So welcome, Valeria. And then moving on to another star panelist, Mariano Diaz is Director, Head of Banking and Infrastructure at TransferGo, a platform that makes sending money abroad as quick and easy as sending text. Or our 2.5 million customers, from migrants to business users, send money to over 150 countries. And Mariano has got fantastic experience of 17 years in financial services, including 11 years across Barclays, Revolut, and TransferGo. So great expertise within payment capabilities. And then moving on to Irsoy. So keeping the best for the last, Irsoy has more than 17 years of hands-on experience in banking and is currently a financial correspondent at Bloomberg HT, where he delivers financial market updates to investors about GCC and Asian markets. The topic covers range from stock markets, currencies, commodities, and fixed income, and also includes such reports as mergers and acquisition, business, social headline relevant to the region. So welcome, everybody. It's great to have a fantastic all-star panelist here. So to kick off the conversation, perhaps it would be good to look at some of the macro trends and macro challenges they are impacting the industry, both on the UK and the Ukraine side. So Valeria, maybe the first question for you here about looking at what are the biggest challenges for businesses you think when they're trying to sell online?
Thank you very much for introduction, and I'm really very glad to participate on this panel. So if to speak about junior enterprises and about the businesses, and for sure online sales, it's a great opportunity for enterprises, and for the companies. But when they start selling online, they're facing with a lot of challenges. First of all, if you can look at an opportunities of online sales, it's great because you can reach your clients. It doesn't matter where they're based. It could be in different countries, and you can sell and you can scale your business much more faster if you sell online. But if you look at the challenges, it's quite complicated for online business to manage their consumer expectations and to manage the money flow from online sales, especially if we speak about different currencies and different also payment options. Because when we look at an online sales, we understand that countries are different and people are different. Consumers prefer to pay on a different way and using different payment options. And for sure, when business they start selling online, they don't know all the specific of local countries. That is why it's really very important to support localization, not just on online or shop side, but also if to speak about online pages of checkouts. And that is why it's really very important to also provide localization of the payment. In this case, all consumers, they will complete the order just in a couple of clicks, and they will find how they wish to pay. And I think that it is really the part of fintech to support business, to reach more clients, supporting business with a lot of local payment methods, support with the local currencies, and to help businesses generally to manage the money flow from in the different countries and from different countries. And our company, yes, we generally provide the support of companies. We support different payment option, and in this case, business, they don't need to become a big expert of different markets and to understand the preferences of individuals, because on our side we will recognize a consumer, and we will understand the location, and we will make the all automatization and adaptation of payment page according to preferences and location of the person. And generally how it works and what problems it covers, it is for sure we help companies to complete the order and to speed up this process and to receive more sales with us. And if to speak about let's look on the process of the online shops, how they manage all the money flow, because if they sell in different countries, it means they need to work with a lot of currencies, and they after they made the sales, they need to receive this money. And we understand with you that to have multi-currency account for business, it's completely different if compare with individuals. For individuals, it's quite easy to open now to receive IBAN accounts, multi-currency. There are a lot of fintech companies which will support individuals with neo banks with the multi-currency. But if you look at SME and enterprises, there are not so many banks. Yes, there are a lot of big banks such as Citibank and others which can support, but in the reality, the neo banks, they are focused more on the individual part, but not on the enterprises. And our company, we focus completely on online companies, online sales, and we support business with multi-currency accounts on which they can receive money from their sales. And the most important that as soon as they receive, they can settle to their suppliers and their partners, because we understand completely that online business, they really quite fast and they need to move their money in a very effective way, and they need to manage it. And there is why we understand that it is great when online business, they can manage money from international sales in one place, and they can manage all their cost in a very efficient way. And the most important also that if you decide to become online business, you also need to think about how fast you can implement also a new one payment options for your new one markets where you scale your business, but also how fast you can also move money and make the settlement payout to your partners. Because there are a lot of now, if you can look at companies gig economist companies, it's different types of marketplaces, also platforms, and for them it's really quite tricky to put together a lot of partners. And that is why if they can find fintech company which can cover this necessities of managing different currencies, different payment options in one place, it's really very important for them.
Excellent. You have made some really excellent point there, Valeria, talking about localization, execution, agility, and what are the key challenges there are. That takes me to my next question, where do you see, Misha, perhaps more for you, in terms of where do you see other opportunities and regional differences for Ukrainian founders in the UK and other regions? So Misha, it would be good to kind of get your thoughts, given you have been in that market and you're a great example of a great success story.
I feel that I'm in a great position to be participating in a panel of Ukrainian UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit, because I have two fintech companies on both markets, so I can share the experience and the difference between the just ways of doing business. I think that in Ukraine in general, a lot of Ukrainian founders, they are focusing too much on their on the market inside the country, and it limits the ability of the company to expand. unfortunately, Ukraine now a bit of a different beast in terms of the market conditions and just general customer adoption of different technologies. For some technologies, for instance, Ukraine is much further than other countries in Europe, but generally it's completely different landscape. And so shifting from working on Ukrainian market to working on UK market implies a lot of a change in the mindset. There are good things that are easier to do here. For instance, the ecosystem is much more developed, so you have a lot of the technology providers and service providers that you as a startup can access. You have PSPs, you have processing companies, you have BIN sponsors, companies that are doing KYC for you, etc., etc. And whether in Ukraine, you have to build almost everything yourself. But on the other hand, the regulations here is different, and sometimes it's very challenging for someone from Ukraine market to make this shift. And from my own experience, it involves a lot of the big bills from lawyers that you will occur. But I still urge all the founders and all the entrepreneurs in Ukraine to try and find at least one market outside of Ukraine to start testing their technology and their product there, with a lot of technical innovations and product innovations that we have in Ukraine, with 10-20% adoption to local realities and local regulation, you can launch a successful product on a much bigger market.
Excellent. And you've raised a really good point about the relationship and how challenging that is. Mariano, it would be great to perhaps get your perspective and your views on from the relationship. Like, what is the relationship of TransferGo as a remittance fintech with the Ukrainian market? So what's your perspective? Where do you see those relationships and from your side of the lens?
Yes, thank you. And well, it's a long-standing, a big relationship between TransferGo and Ukraine. We started 8 years ago, approximately, to basically support the diaspora migratory population of Ukraine across different countries like Poland. And we have helped them to send money back home in an efficient, low cost and fast manner to their families. So you can imagine how relevant it is for this migratory population to make sure they send money back home. So in that sense, we have had a very good understanding and knowledge on what is the behavior of that population. And through years, we have expanded our understanding, not only to be aware on how digital savvy are the Ukrainians. The way on how Ukrainians utilize the cards is one of the largest penetration markets in the world in terms of card usage. So that has helped a lot for the digital journey. That basically that's what we do. We help people to be able to send money back home digitally. And that has helped us to understand every time more and more, and so much that now from a remittance company that we are exploring different ways on how we could provide basic services to this population when they are abroad outside of Ukraine. So that has made us very aware. That's a relationship with Ukraine and opportunities. I see that more fintechs trying to work into the Ukrainian market could have various ways. Misha was commenting that banking as a service model that is basically one shop where fintechs could get access to card issuance, wallets, ledgers, payments, integrations, and so on. It's a great area where I see regulator in Ukraine could provide ways on how those new business models could evolve. And that's a very good opportunity, I think, for fintechs willing to explore in more ways the Ukrainian market.
Great, excellent. And then talking about the market, then, regulators play an important role. So it's about the roles of regulators in the market. So it would be good to kind of get your perspective. Do you think regulators are supporting the ecosystem, or or what more we can do from that side?
Well, if I can respond to that, when an international fintech goes into Ukraine for different type of as a remittance, for example, the way of navigating the local regulations and the way of understanding what are the requirements to do something is quite challenging, quite daunting in sometimes. So therefore. There is quite important to do an assessment before going into the country into what is required. So NBU, I think they're doing a great job in few areas. In the communication they're having with fintechs like us, for example, they're very open for conversation. Additionally, we have noted how the regulatory environment in Ukraine is very strong compared to other markets where we operate, and that's a very positive. And therefore, fintechs like us, when we want to do new things in markets like in Ukraine, having the understanding, an easy way to understand requirements, timings, and opportunities for doing business in Ukraine in this case is quite essential. And sometimes that could take much more time than we would have liked or expected. And therefore, I think there's an area there where regulator could create a clear set of parameters, rules, and instructions where fintechs willing to operate in Ukraine could follow for an easiness. Thank you.
Okay, no, I think that's fantastic, brilliant. So taking the conversation forward and then looking at pandemic. So we all have been, March 13th was one of the key milestone date for us where, from UK perspective and other countries' perspective, we went under the lockdown. So would be great to get all the fellow panelists' views in terms of, the impact you all saw from a business standpoint whilst in the pandemic. And importantly, now as we are coming out of the pandemic, and as we see so many different countries, depending upon their vaccination rate, they all are in the different stages of the pandemic. So, Misha, maybe if I, kick off and start this question from you in terms of how has the pandemic impacted Monobank and Koto? So yeah, it would be great to kind of get some insight from you first.
There's actually two different stories, I would say even opposite stories. So for Monobank, which at the start of the pandemic was already well-established business with more than 2.5 million customers. And of course, we were bracing ourselves for something unpredictable, and we didn't know what to expect. And the first months and a half, I think the biggest surprise for us was actually how changed the customer behavior, and it was something that we couldn't predict it. We were expecting people to get deeper into the credit lines and to create a push on cash reserves, etc. But opposite happened. So people cut their expenses, and the first months of the pandemic, we've seen the picture where the savings start to grow and the lending actually start to shrink. Then what's already on the previous panel, Alexei mentioned that Alexei Shaban mentioned from NBU, how NBUs quickly and swiftly introduce ability for banks to do a digital KYC and open accounts without meeting face-to-face. This was a very much needed innovation from the regulator that came at a crucial moment and helped to continue growth for us and just for servicing the customers for other banks. On the opposite spectrum, I have a Koto, which was set to go live on April 3rd of 2020. And as you can imagine, it's not the best, I would say the worst time to start a new lending business in the middle of pandemic and the first 2 weeks of the national lockdown, where everyone a bit in panic and despair, and no one knows what to do. So for the next year, almost a year, we had to just move our launch date further and further and further, and we were able to go live a year later, which of course is super hard for a startup. So I would say if you can conclude some out of my experience, it's for established business, especially the one who was embracing the digital service and online. The pandemic actually was a big kick in terms of a lot of people start moving to digital service that before they were reluctant and they were relying on face-to-face interaction for some services like banking. But for small companies or startups that are in early stages, it was devastating. And I'm pretty sure that there were a lot of startups who haven't survived that period, unfortunately.
No, it's great, and I'm glad you highlighted those differences because lots of people who are watching the live discussion today, some of them are actually in a stage where they are just a startup or seed, or some of them are thinking. So it's a good kind of way to summarize it. So it's a good learning for them to take. So moving on then, talking about digital strategy. So Irsoy, would love to kind of get your thoughts about the new digital strategies, about bringing the product and service in this environment in the pandemic. So I know you're joining us from Dubai today. So what are you seeing from your financial reporter hat on?
Thank you, Payal. First, I thought you forgot me. Well, I have to be humble here because all my panelists have set up a company, but I'm just a journalist. But I work in 17 years in asset management industry, and every day I talk about financial market news. And I'm an angel investor, and I'm in mentoring in so many fintechs. What I see is like everybody started using these terms like touchless society, contactless society, cashless society, and we will see more of these, especially in Dubai. I can give you more about UAE examples, or since I am Turkish, I can give Turkey examples. Payments and remittances are very big here. Because especially in UAE, 85% of the population is expats, and whenever they got their salaries, they want to send their salaries to their home countries. So payments and, as I told you, remittance are big sectors here. Also, I see developments in RegTech and regulation technologies. I can divide it into two, for example, SupTech or ComTech, supervision technology or compliance technology. I am coming from an asset management background. What I see is wealth tech or robo-advisor is growing. I mean, people, especially with the pandemic, they were so much interested in stock markets and retail investors came to the market a lot. So we will see more in this area, especially investment advisory or robo-advisory and financial literacy examples to bring more people into the market. Of course, no need to tell, but crypto assets is growing. So fintechs who are using crypto assets will be more. We will see more. InsurTech is another example that we will see, and I think we will see more investments to this side. And not only I'm talking about UAE, but in all around the world. And I want to add one more thing. Previously, we were just thinking banks and fintechs, but currently I see telecoms or e-commerce companies, last mile delivery companies. We see lots of examples. They are all starting their digital wallets and they are taking fintech licenses. But there's a difference here. There's too much regulations on the banks, but especially in these companies, they are more, let me say, flexible. But recently, what I've seen, especially in China, we saw in Ant Group and in Didi, China regulators, they are not happy with this, and they said no company can have more data than the government. So we will see in two different approaches, I think. I mean, some of them will put too much pressure on the not small fintechs, but big companies. But the other regulators will want to open more visionary ways to grow these fintechs. Ayal?
Great, no, Ishwar, that's fantastic, because I think you've made some really excellent points here, especially looking at the role the government plays, especially in the pandemic, and how that's going to help businesses to pivot so quickly. That kind of leading to my next question, perhaps for Valeria and Mariano, kind of looking at how your businesses pivoted during the pandemic time. Valeria, I know you've made a point about localization, the payments across different countries, currencies. So there must be quite a lot to handle it. So did you see your volumes they skyrocketed or they slowed down? So yeah, Valeria, if you want to maybe share your color to the story.
Yeah, thank you. So if to speak about like generally our business, as we are a cloud-based company, like we didn't have any like problems with the new one situation and reality. But if you look at the business of our clients, for sure there are two completely different situations. On the one hand, it was a really great push to speed up the digitalization of a lot of businesses, and they really like started selling online in a quite fast way. And on the one hand, they receive more opportunities and they receive more access to different markets, but for sure, like they needed to spend more time to prepare a little bit themselves. And we saw that a really very big request from business to start accepting payments online, and it was quite successfully for them. But on the other hand, there are really a big one sad news, because as you know that such kind of business as a travel and as like different types of tourism, they unfortunately they closed their business, and or they needed just like to maybe to change their model completely on the opposite like side and to create something new one. That is why like we saw that unfortunately we lost some type of businesses, but on the other hand, it for sure like we found that we have a lot of new clients which started their own business in online. And also what we found that, as I also would like to agree with Mikhail, that people, we saw that they started to spend less money because for sure their necessities was not like in the normal life. They didn't need like a lot of goods, and that is why they spent it less during the COVID generally pandemic time. But like we saw that just amount of online shops it increased, but amount like and the average like check per one transaction it decreased. And that is why like even we can see like the big growth in such like food delivery companies, and we see the growth like even like in Amazon. But I think that in each company the average bill for one transaction like in the general like market on online payments like it decreased. It is like the situation was during the pandemic, but now we see that it good news now that that we see that all online shops which they started during the pandemic time, now we see that it's starting like the transaction volume starting increasing, and we think that during the next years it will be really very big one boom on a new one companies on SME, because a lot of businesses they understood that it is important to represent also to be represented in online and to sell also goods in online, even if you have online shops, because nobody knows what will be in autumn and in winter.
Great. Mariano, did you kind of, saw the same kind of trend and spikes on your side of the team?
Thank you, Payal. In TransferGo, it was mixed. The reason is that, as you know, borders were closed. So many Ukrainians stopped going to work abroad, and therefore there was less need to send money back home. But on the other hand, many competitors that are very cash-driven organizations where they collect money via cash, and those cases were not possible because of the pandemic. We saw a very big uptake across different corridors on digital means, and because we are a 100% digital organization, we saw a huge increase in terms of volume flow on remittances because of that reason. And this is a way. This is a reason why a pandemic with so many consequences has brought across the world has pushed that digitalization in so many different areas, as discussed or commented before. And one of those has been on remittances, where people have, by push of the circumstances, have learned to use these new ways of sending money back home and or doing remittances, and we've been there to support them, and that's where we have seen an increase of business. Thank you.
Okay, great. No, thank you. So taking on and moving then to the last segment of our discussion today is looking ahead. So, you know, where we are, what's happening, which is great, but I guess it'd be good to kind of get everyone's thinking hats on and, you know, perhaps have a crystal ball in front of us and see, you know, 2 years from now, looking ahead. So in your opinion, where do you see the problems our fintechs might be facing in the next 2 years? Maybe if we start from the B2B side of the market. So Valeria, I know, you know, kind of your expertise on that side would be perhaps good if you can, you know, share your views on that.
We will focus on the problems for fintech, or which one problems fintech should solve for businesses. So if to speak
I
about,
guess once
like,
you know what the problems are, then we can solve for it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer, because like I think that the fintech company should be like the troubleshooters, and that is why I like can provide just the most important solutions. And I think that first of all, let's look on us as consumers. I think that we have so many requests to online business, because every time we would like to receive like immediately our goods. We would like to return and receive our like money also like in couple of minutes. It means that we really have a lot of requirements to online business. But on opposite side, every time like generally we think that online business and general like business cannot have any requirements to financial fintech companies or financial sectors at all, to banks, to companies, because we think that they should be glad that they receive like accounts in banks, that they should be glad that they receive loans. But I think that it's unfair because everything is like business. And I think that fintech companies should really focus on the service level. They should focus on the importance for businesses to speed up the process of receiving money, to movement money, and really like we must focus on the cost of these transactions, because like business, they need really to use a new one infrastructure layouts of like accounts, and new one infrastructure like really like payment systems which we will work in online. And in this case, like business can receive their payments much more fast, and they can use it, because in this case they will don't need to maybe to use like some loans. On the other hand, I think that definitely like fintech companies must also focus on the data and the data analysis, because like in the result that banks, the financial market, they have so big data that they don't need to receive sometimes any information about the client, about like the business, just like a proof that it is real, like this company, or it is really this individual. But information about like the behavior, about the spendings, in the result, banks, they have it, and they can make their own like analysis, their own projections, and they can even share with some like projections, and to help business to develop their business in a more effective way. It means that technology in financial market can bring really a lot of opportunities for business, and technology in fintech can help businesses to lead their business in a much more efficient, effective way. It means that on the one hand, technology should speed up the process of money movement. On the other hand, it for sure should help businesses to manage business in much more efficient way. And on the third part, it is for sure like security. We would like to receive our goods in a good way and also in a secure way. And the same like business, they should be sure that everything is fine with their money. And we need like a fintech company that focus a lot on the security part, like of fraud prevention and also like risk monitoring, transaction monitoring, and help businesses to work with it, because we need to don't forget that business is not an expert in the financial market, and we must be an expert, and we must create like really very developed systems which will help business to focus on their key functionalities.
Indeed, indeed. And I guess it's kind of then looking at, what are the international fintechs and neobanks are looking to secure from payment capabilities perspective. So, Mariano, maybe perhaps it would be good to get your opinion on that, where you see that, balance and kind of, the request you're seeing in the market.
Mm-hmm. There's currently been a huge race internationally in terms of conquer the world, basically. And this is not only from neobanks, but also the fintechs behind supporting the neobanks globally. And that race is in the payments arena, let's put it like that, is based on costs. Technology has driven, as we know very well, a lot of cost reduction for remittance companies where they have come and compete very well against banks. But that's not the end of the story. Right now, what is going on is that the capabilities that fintechs and neobanks are trying to deploy across the world is to remove barriers, to remove layers, to remove intermediaries, to have direct access to payment systems, to have direct access to the end provider, could be a bank or another fintech that will make the last leg of the payment at a very efficient and low-cost manner. That is a race that is currently happening because payments are becoming, because of technology and lower cost, a commodity. And as things become, as payments become a commodity, players are looking to get a bigger portion of the opportunity by having more efficient ways on completing payments, but also they are expanding into getting into new countries by obtaining local licenses. For example, in Ukraine, there are opportunities for international payments on how they could operate locally with a license for international players, but many countries have different that approach. And under that approach, fintechs are going to become more aggressive into finding ways on how to obtain the license across countries and more regions. Because now that locally, not only obtaining license for rating locally, but also doing business with local providers is becoming easier. So for all that layer of big players that historically have been there to help fintechs and other neobanks into reaching could be challenging in the future, because there's opportunity for a lot of players to go to the end point of the and in that sense, countries, for example, like Ukraine, that they open more their market, they become and they produce opportunities for fintechs to potentially connect directly or indirectly with good models on how do you put access to local ACH, the local payment network is super powerful, because that creates a lot of appetite for our fintechs and neobanks to connect directly or find ways to operate into the market. So, that regions are happening where local regulators are evolving and helping fintechs to have better ways of integrating into one specific thing, into the local payment system. That is the end game in terms of international payments for fintechs and neobank. How you fast get into the local payment system to make sure that your payments go faster and lower cost. Thank you.
Okay, great. So probably as we are coming, to our closing into the session here, perhaps a wrap up, a quick fire chat for everyone. where we can give 60 seconds to each one of you and give your top tips and recommendations. We're looking at, all the Ukrainian young fintech founders, perhaps somebody who has already down the line for a few years, looking for some seed investment. So maybe if we can go, Misha, with you first, what would be your top 2 tips or recommendations?
For Ukraine founders.
Yeah.
Well, it's. I would say that, as I said on my previous speech, for Ukrainian founders, I urge them to try to enter other markets, some foreign market. It could be borderline country, or it could be as far as US or some Asian countries. But what I see in Ukrainian startups in terms of tech and a product vision is world-class level, and you just have to take the courage, and you should try and sell your product abroad.
Great, fantastic. Valeria, do you want to go next? Because you're next on my screen.
Yeah, thank you. For sure, every time you need to take this risk and try. But before you decide to try, you need to really make some research about the market, because you will find that it's really very different markets. It doesn't matter like if it will be UK or it is any other. Before you start doing something, please just try to understand quite deeply what is going on the market. You need to follow the business. And before you will jump on like market with the idea that I have a great idea and it will be really the best on the market, just try to understand if you just really right about like deciding which problems you would solve, and try to just to choose one problem which you would like to solve and try your product. And after that, if you will like really find that it could be successful, you can go to investment funds, you can start like building your product like with a full speed. That is why just try and to take this risk, but try to understand if it is like really you are on the right traction and you understand really market.
Excellent, great. So Mariano, do you want to go next?
Thank you. I would advise for new founders or startups to never make assumptions, never, and always base your decision on specific facts and not assumption, and base your facts on data and research. And that's how you move on. Never assuming things, and especially for fintechs, there's an additional layer of having to become a specialist on regulations and do your homework, study regulations, understand them very well, and then based on data, make your decisions on what is your next move.
Okay, brilliant. Data-driven decisions, great, that's fantastic. And then Ershoy, over to you.
Thank you, Payal. I mean, I think still there's a potential because of the financial inclusion, 5G, and the opportunity and the low interest rates. There are still potential in the market. So always my advice to entrepreneurs or founders, think global. Don't think on Ukraine or UK or wherever you are living. Always start how your company can go global. What are you solving? What's the problem that you are solving? And choose your team very well. Then there's always a good opportunity to grow. That's my advice.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. So I hope everybody today, found this conversation useful. So think global, data-driven decision, market research. Make sure you've got your facts right. Don't take any assumption. So a very, very much thank you to all our fantastic all-star panelists today for your time and contribution. We hope everybody found this conversation useful. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear panelists. Thank you very much, Payal, for this truly intense and thought-provoking discussion. And if we have still everyone on board, we have some interesting questions from our audience. So I would really be very happy if someone from the panel could answer this question: how can I invest in Ukrainian fintech companies? So I think Valeria or Misha, what would you advise to our viewers? I guess.
What doesn't mean how to invest? Just choose the project which you would like and start conversation with this company and just easily invest in this company.
Thank you, because we have some very interesting questions and all of them are live in our studio. So, it's very, another question is quite provocative from our audience. And the question is for Misha. Revolut valued at $33 billion following SoftBank today's morning. How it will affect on other neobanks?
Well, I think it's great that we have one truly global, striving to be truly global neobank company, and I think that this recent investment would be a benchmark. It might be a sign of a bit of overheating of the whole space, but for me, as part of that market, I think it would be I think it's a good news for everyone who is raising rounds right now, because it just push everyone's valuation higher, because that's a new aspiring benchmark. But yeah, we'll see how it goes for the next couple of years. I think the race would be to build in from current successful neobanks in terms of customer adoption. I think the race would be to build a sustainable business model for all of them. And that's where we see a next shift when the dust would settle and we'll see who actually who spent all that investment rightly.
Thank you very much. I hope that this answered our audience's questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to move further. Thank you very much, dear panelists. Thank you, Erzoi. Thank you, Misha. Thank you, Mariana. Thank you, Valeria. And of course, thank you, Payal, for a truly thought-provoking and intense discussion. And now we are ready for our really exciting startup pitch session. Just in a few minutes, you will find out what is the next big idea in fintech. We will see 10 most prominent fintech startups after a short break in 2 minutes.
I see on the wall reminds me of your charming smile, and every mistake I recall again makes me feel so alone in this world. Try to forgive, 'cause I cannot live without you. And you know that I love you wherever you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit. Right now, we'll have really exciting session that will reveal what is the next big idea in fintech. I would like to tell you prior to this a little bit about Ukraine's startup ecosystem. Because Ukraine is gradually conquering the world's tech stage by presenting truly innovative ideas. Over the past 6 years, Ukrainian startups raised 2 billion in venture capital investment, £2 billion. And UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit conducted the call for the Ukraine's most innovative fintech startups with the ready solutions, with the ready products. And right now, you will have a chance to contemplate the next big idea, the idea that could potentially become unicorn. And this would have never happened without the support of our dear partners, the startup session partners, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, TI London, Sigma Software Labs, Utah Tech Tribe, Ukrainian Startup Fund, and IT Ukraine Association. And right now, I would like you to meet a chairman emeritus at TI London, a trustee on the board of TI Global. And TI Global is an organization that is originated in Silicon Valley and is the largest network of entrepreneurs in the world, with over 15,000 members. And please, ladies and gentlemen, meet Dinesh Damija, a serial entrepreneur, philanthropist, and politician right now. Dinesh?
Angelica, thank you very much indeed. Let me just acknowledge the people you acknowledged, but also the government of Ukraine and the UK, Sigma, TheCityUK, and the London Stock Exchange. So let me just say that thank you very much to them. TI are entrepreneurs helping other entrepreneurs. So TI can provide advice on how to run a fast-growing company. I'll give you 3 examples. Things move in dog years when it comes to fintech, which means 7 years in 1 year. You might have heard that before, but how do you keep a focus on moving to your objectives when all this is happening? When you've really been brought up on a year-to-year basis and not 7 years in 1 year. A second example, IPOs, what are their costs and fees? When I did an IPO in 1999 on the NASDAQ, I raised $61 million. But actually, I got in hand $53.9 million. But everyone thought I got $61 million. So the bankers' fees, your costs and everything comes out of that. You still need merchant bankers. Don't think that you can get away with that. But that's the deal, that you need to budget for that extra amount of money. A third one, Revolut was just mentioned in the last panel. 33 billion is their valuation. But when I opened an account with Revolut 2 years ago, it was the ease of opening the account, which is superb. You know, normally you have to put in or sign up to 50 times when you go into a bank to open an account, but not here. It took me 3 to 4 minutes. The other thing that I found with Revolut was absolute customer focus, in that if I wanted to change currencies, there was very little friction. There was very little loss of value in commissions. And that's one of the reasons why Revolut is where it is. Of course, people might think that it's too much and too big and all that, but I'll tell you what, they have the money. We can talk about how stock markets work, or we can help people. We can talk about choosing a merchant banker, how to sell your company, because we've all sold companies. And so all that helps the entrepreneur ecosystem. And we're open for any entrepreneurs who want to come and talk to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. We are really honored to be joined by you. And by the end of the startup session, we have a little surprise, not so little, because this surprise is from Thai London that will grant 2 winners the special membership for Thai London. The special membership that will include mentorship and incubation in one of the world's most leading accelerators, one of the most leading programs for entrepreneurs. And I would like to welcome now a Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Chief Digital Transformation Officer, Dmytro Senik, who has contributed hugely to the startup call of the top fintech startups from Ukraine.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Great. Well, it's a great pleasure to be here. Mr. Dinesh Damidja, Veronica, dear representatives of Ukrainian fintech startups, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to participate today in the Ukraine-UK Fintech Summit and welcome at this session the best Ukrainian fintech startups. Your ideas and your creativity, without any exaggeration, can make the world better and change lifestyles of people in different countries. Technologies are altering our reality. Ukraine is not only following the process, but is actively engaged and contributes to it. Ukraine is a new tech hub for Europe. Let me offer you some facts and examples. Ukraine is among the 50 most innovative economies in the world. Ukrainian tech industry is booming. The IT sector is growing 5 times faster than the global average. By 2025, the high-tech industry of Ukraine is projected to generate $10 billion. Ukraine has more than 5,000 IT companies and more than 220,000 top-notch developers. Ukraine ranks among the world's 50 best countries for startup development. There are around from 2,000 to 4,000 startups in Ukraine right now, and Ukrainian tech companies are well known around the world. Grammarly, Riddle, Depositors, PetCube, MacPo, Reface, Ajax Systems, and many others. Ukraine now has 3 unicorns, which is Grammarly, GitLab, and Airslate. And the government of Ukraine is also trying to be proactive on this track, making tremendous progress in digital and technological transformation of Ukraine. Today's participation in this summit of the high-level officials from Ukraine is a clear manifestation of importance attached to advanced technologies by Ukrainian government. The Foreign Ministry is honored to support Ukrainian IT companies in opening new markets. As you may have heard, the Foreign Ministry of Ukraine has recently initiated the launch of the so-called IT Expert Boost, the project in cooperation with one of the partners in this session, IT Ukraine Association. We hope that the UK market can also become more open to Ukrainian business, particularly in the fintech sector. And we are determined to work together to open new horizons together for our mutual benefit. Despite the global crisis, in 2020, the volume of Ukrainian IT exports exceeded a record high 5 billion, which is 20% increase compared to 2019. And Ukraine is #1 in Europe based on the volume of IT service experts. So our country is indeed becoming a leading IT outsourcing destination. More than 20 Ukrainian service companies included in the global outsourcing 100 list. More than 100 Fortune companies have chosen Ukrainian IT services. More than 60 Ukrainian companies were shortlisted via Clutch 1000, the list that encompasses leading companies around the world across a variety of service lines and industries. The main clients of Ukrainian vendors remain the United States, Europe, including Great Britain and the EU countries, and it is my special pleasure to know that the UK is Ukraine's top service sector importer and our 5th largest export market. In 2020, digital services accounted for over half of Ukraine's service exports to the UK. And I'm sure we can do much better than that, especially after today's summit. like the previous panelists put it, think globally, sky is the limit, or should I say cloud is the limit. There are many bright examples of Ukraine-UK tech cooperation, ambitious and successful projects. And let me just name a few. The British fintech company, Virex, with an R&D center in Kyiv, which became the first crypto processing platform to secure MasterCard principal membership. Evolve IT Consulting, another company of one team in two countries, UK and Ukraine, as they describe themselves, breakthrough and award-winning startup project in fintech, such as HastyPay, eBay, Zerx, and others. Scottish space tech startup Skirora claims to be proud to work with an innovative co-working center located in the city of Dnipro. Skirora designs, manufactures, and deploys rockets to clear the way for small satellite manufacturers looking to access space. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today's Fintech Summit is an important bridge that brings our countries even closer in the fintech sphere. So let me express my gratitude to the organizers, the Embassy of Ukraine in the United Kingdom, the TheCityUK, London Stock Exchange, and the Sigma Software Group for bringing together government and business of both of our countries to exchange their valuable experience and expertise in fintech, as well as develop tracks for further cooperation. I'm sure you cannot wait to hear more about startups which will be presented today. So I wish you an interesting and fruitful session, and would like to express my gratitude once again to Ukrainian fintech startups who are brave enough to make changes and search for the better, as well as to TIE London for supporting this session. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dmytro. We are really delighted to be partners with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. And thank you very much for inspiration and a really great attitude towards our amazing startups that are actually here and can listen all this inspiring conversations. And I would like now to start our startup session. And our startup session is something truly exciting. As you know, we have conducted the startup call prior to the summit, and we've already chosen the best of the best. So here on the stage, there will be companies that are already the best, and already Ukraine's most promising fintech companies. Perhaps today you will witness a next big idea. Perhaps today the unicorns are born. And I would like to welcome on this stage Veronica Korsh, chairwoman at Sigma Software Labs Incubator and founder of a startup herself at World Insights. So she knows how startups should reach success.
Thank you, Angelica. And thank you, everyone. Thank you, guests and organizers and partners. I'm really honored to be here and represent investment part, Sigma Software Labs Incubator, and also being a co-founder at a sport tech product, What Inside. And I know that pitch session is one of the most exciting part of startup life. So in a couple of minutes, you're gonna hear 10 pitches of the most promising startups, and they're gonna have only 3 minutes. So guys, be creative and be very straight. So I would like to invite the first team, which is Datrix AI, the cloud AI solution, and Anton Weisbord. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Veronica. Thanks for having me here. So, my name is Anton Weisbord, and I'm a founder of Datrix AI. Datrix is a no-code tool for analytics and machine learning in fintech. So, it's hard to underestimate the value of data and data strategy overall in the company's life right now. And actually, it becomes a competitive advantage, how good the companies use the data. So the problem here is that right now, every process is being digitalized, and much data is collected, but not being analyzed at all. Actually, 60% of collected data is not used for analytics and insights in the companies. And we do not have enough analysts and machine learning engineers to do so. Frankly speaking, around 90% of machine learning experiments just not get to production and have no value for decision-making process. So That's exactly the point why we need to bring analytics and machine learning to the end users, to knowledge workers. And that's why we have no-code era coming, which is especially important for fintech, the most data-intensive vertical. Right? So we need to get insights for risk modeling, for anti-money laundering, for transactional analytics or marketing analytics. And this is all need to be done in a no-code way so that end users can do it. And this is exactly what Datrix provides. We enable self-service analytics to knowledge workers, both technical and non-technical, to do this stuff without coding. You can work with the data in 3 simple steps. Upload the data, then do data prep, like cleansing, transformations, and get insights such as forecasts or predictions. And everything can be done without a single line of code. Actually, the value of the platform is in building data pipelines really faster and do many, many experiments by the people who typically don't write code. And for sure, we are enabling them to make sure that these best analytics or best models can get to production really fast and smoothly. That are the reasons why we're trusted by some of our customers, like which you can see on the screen, such as Revolut, largest UK digital bank, and some other UK and Ukrainian-based fintechs and banks. There are a couple of use cases we are covering in like financial services, but most of all are around like risk analytics, such as credit risk modeling or probability of default prediction, marketing analytics, and cryptos. That's actually it. Datrix is a no-code tool for analytics and machine learning in fintech. Thank you.
Thank you, Anton. You're just right in time. It's very important for the startup. And I would like to invite FinMap, the financial management system for small and medium businesses. They're going to be online. So guys, are you there? Hopefully you are, because we're waiting for you.
Yep, hello, I'm
Hi.
here.
Hello, so the floor is yours, and your 3 minutes will start just right now.
Great. So let me share my screen with the presentation. So, hello, my name is Ivan Kaunov, and I'm co-founder of FinMap. Do you know that 90% of SMEs in all the developing countries don't have financial clarity about their business? Sometimes their owners do not even know how much money they have in the business right now. And this is why we have created FinMap. We help service and project-based companies like development, IT, or design agencies to manage financial chaos in their businesses, to be aware of their funds, predict and then analyze profitability of every project, avoid cash gaps, and grow their business by focusing on the most profitable projects. FinMap is a SaaS solution, and we charge $40 per month per company. And we also generate extra revenue from services and financial educational products. So FinMap is much more than just another financial management tool. Business owners love us because we provide technical coaching, strategies, and insights based on their financial data, so they know how exactly grow their business. Today, we have more than 450 clients, and we started as CIS-focused product, but quickly understood that our value proposition fits to the much bigger market. As proof of this statement, we have clients in 12 different countries, some of them far away from CIS. We are 2 co-founders with successful exit stories and a lot of years of experience in business. Also, we have a great team of professionals who are really keen on FinMap and passionate about their work. So speaking about the market, there are 300 million of small businesses in developing countries with a total market worth $10 billion. Before scaling on new markets, we want to test each with the strategy we have already proven on our domestic market. It's a collaboration with the business-oriented influencers who have generated new registrations in FinMap. So our plan is to find influencers or business communities in Latin America or Southeast Asia with the audience of entrepreneurs or business owners. So if you could help us with those intros, please contact me directly on LinkedIn or email. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. It was just right in time. Thank you very much. I would like to call Upswot, the financial platform for small and medium enterprises with connections to more than 150 software as a service products. Upswot, you there?
Yes.
Okay, so good luck. Your 3 minutes starts right now.
Okay, cool. I hope you can see my screen right now. Is everything okay? Yeah, you can see my screen. So we created the platform, which is white label add-on to online and mobile banking and transforms the data from 150 API-enabled apps used by small and medium-sized businesses almost every day. We transform this data into actionable insights, into accurate cash flow forecast to help both bankers and their business clients perform better. So as of now, we are the team of 52 guys. We are a 2-year-old company, raised $5 million. Very soon we will announce our A round. Right now we are working with 40 financial institutions in North America, in UK, by the way, in Eastern Europe, and in Australia. So among our clients are not only the banks. For example, last week, MasterCard publicly announced that they bought the license on our product to help merchants perform better. Recently, we announced the deals with Square, with Intuit. We are working with Societe Generale, Raiffeisen Bank International, Temenos, Finastra, and so on. Let me show you what we do. I will show you the product that we are launching right now with one bank in the US. Very soon it will be in production. So let's imagine that there is Jade. Jade is a small business owner, and in her online banking, she can deposit checks, manage her cards, move money. But there is a new feature from the bank that offers her marketing insights, e-commerce insights, financial insights to help her perform better. And when she's clicking this button for the first time, she will be offered to connect her apps to her online banking. And the data from these apps will help you to get funding faster and to make the next best business step. No one needs the data. Everyone needs the outcome of the data. And that's why the bank will explain Jade why her week-over-week sales volume on Square dropped by 26%. The bank will actually explain why that happened. And the bank will give recommendations regarding what to do next. The bank can highlight that 23% of the invoices are not yet paid and Jade is running out of cash. Again, the bank will make this insight credible through explanations, and the bank will offer immediate solution, factoring, because Jade needs resources. So our technology transforms the data from lots of apps to make Jade sticky, engaged, but to help bank to sell better through explanations. Explanations why Jade needs factoring, why she needs savings account, why it's even the perfect timing to apply for insurance. So the more apps Jade connects, the better and more accurate insights she gets. Unfortunately, we don't have much time. I would be happy to show you pro version and how we generate insights to the bankers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I was on time.
It was really inspiring. Thank you. We really like that. Thank you very much. And we go further. And I would like to invite Backcash application that helps managing, particularly collecting and reminding debts. Guys, you there online?
Hi everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Let me show you the screen. Okay.
Yes, you can
First
start
of all,
right
thank
now.
you. Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for the great summit and thanks for this opportunity. So I'd like to represent you our product Backcash. So powered by our company Startup Monkey, we are focused on making debts return really funny. Wait a second. Okay. So we focus on some great problems which are made during the debt collection. First of all, it's psychological aspect because we use gamification in this approach to make it comfortable and efficient. The thing is that each debtor is hard to be reached, and we reproduced the following solutions for this. First of all, it's virtual communication. So debtors will receive links through any comfortable messengers and automatically be synced via various platforms like iOS or Android. We have the history of debt for our users, and of course, the data migration possibility as in any device which is represented today. Excuse me. So what are our competitive advantages? It's ease of use, of course, because we tested it all over, even with children. Psychological comfort. Each debt collection is stressful, and we try to approach it with gamification and wonderful approach. Multiple currencies. We follow, as it was said today, we follow the trend even with crypto wallets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and of course, different ways to reach debtor. Our business model is quite simple. First of all goes free plan, then goes payment integration with commissions as next upgrade, and the last is ads integration and premium plan. I would like to mention there is no direct competitor, so it's blue ocean for gamification and debt collection. It's quite important. Our roadmap, first, it's free and fun gamification application. The second one is fundraising payment platforms integration. And next, in 2022, series of funding and full-fledged product. Let me introduce briefly our team. I am co-founder of Startup Monkey. I would like to say that, of course, our core team, that's not the whole team. I'd like to thank Paolo Robinsky. He is my partner, and Olena, she's my wife. She helped to create this wonderful design. So if you are interested in uncommon approach to debt collection, feel free to contact us and we provide you with this solution. Thank you very much. We are on the market for a long time and work with startups already for a long time.
Thank you. Thank you for inspiring pitch and of course being in time. I would like to invite the next product, which is Yoda Pay. And it's going to be presented over here on the stage. Yoda Pay is low-cost payments for small and medium-sized businesses, for sole traders and charities. Vladislav, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Are you ready for a great pitch? All right, so we have some nice news to share with you today. I'm Vlad. I'm the head of Yoda Pay Kyiv office, and at Yoda Pay, we've revolutionized the retail payment processing with open banking technology and being ethical in mind. So in UK, hundreds and thousands of businesses are struggling with high fees of payment processing services, their lack of flexibility, and most of the times they require account registration on the client side. And that's why we developed a great solution for that. It's reliable, fast, and easy to use Yoda Pay. So let me show Yoda Pay in action. So in order to receive a payment, the merchant opens his Yoda Pay app, fills in the amount, reference of the payment, asks for a tip. And here he has two options, generate QR code or share the link. Let's see the first option. As you can see, the QR code generates immediately. The customer just scans the QR code through his camera app, which automatically redirects him to the browser where he sees all the information, chooses the amount to tip. Everything is super simple, no app installation needed. Pay now, clicks pay now, chooses his bank, sign in with his banking account, and boom, the payment is done, super quick and easy. Okay, so our brand philosophy is to promote the idea of ethical payments. By that we mean following the idea of minimizing the environmental impact from our operational activity by producing the payment terminals which do not use any batteries and are made of 1999 recyclable materials. No cash, no plastic, no paper invoices, nor checks or receipts, paper receipts. For merchants, Yoda Pay is killer's chip, starting from 0.19% to 0.49% for transaction fee, which is 10 times less than card payments. We also have the money goes directly to their bank account, no more few business day waits, in-app digital invoices, sales team management, CRM system, and many more. Customers enjoy Yoda Pay because we allow them to go ethical for face-to-face payments, super fast user experience, and bank-grade security. No card details involved, and we never handle anyone's money. Our target market, pretty much all retail payments around the countries who support open banking. And we do believe that open banking will overtake card payments because more and more countries starting to adopt the idea. Right now, we operate through England, Scotland, and Wales. Our main consumers are small businesses, beauty salons, garages, hairdressing shops, and we already have more than thousands of downloads. We are supported by one private backer. And for those guys who are in UK, please scan the QR code and we'll be happy you to try it for free. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
very fast. Thank you so much. So, and I would like to invite the next product, which is Go Solo, digital banking multiple platform that makes it fast to register the company, open a business bank account, and start trading. Guys, you ready there?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Your
Fantastic.
3 minutes. Start right now.
Thanks a lot. So my name is Dima and I'm a founder at Go Solo, joining you from sunny London. And today, a lot has been said about entrepreneurship. A lot has been said about starting your own business, and actually some fantastic startups just before me were speaking about their great products. And actually, there is an army of people out there who want to do just the same as we do, start their own business. Literally, 2/3 of adults in the UK want to have their own business, but they're not acting on their dreams because they find it scary, they don't know how to do it, they might be experts web designers or expert landscape gardeners, but they don't have the financial literacy or legal comfort or financial comfort to start their business. So this is where we come into play, and we want to make starting a business as simple as possible. We are the only digital banking toolkit which makes it easy to start and operate a business. We combine the process of planning the business, launching it, like literally registering the business in the company's house, start doing the transactions with our company card, having total control of the finances of your cash flow, and providing you with the networking and sales opportunities so that you can grow your business more effectively. By doing that bundling, we replace a lot of other services which otherwise would be needed for a user. And we make life so much easier, like Dinesh was just saying right now about Revolut, where they provide a really smooth experience for currency exchange and some basic banking transactions. We aim to achieve the same, but for entrepreneurship experience. Make entrepreneurship easy to start, easy to operate. As I said, we are already live here in the UK. We are operational. We are completely integrated and authorized by FCA, by Companies House. We have magic invoices which literally pay themselves. So next is for us is growing for that market and acquiring about 5 to 6 clients this year. We will be announcing our next funding round next week, which has been led by SFC, one of the major early stage investors here in the UK. Our team is a mix of UK and Ukrainian guys. And on that note, I'd like to thank everyone in Ukraine for organizing and participating in this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Go Solo. And we are going further. And I would like to invite Corify, the universal feature-rich payment orchestration platform for online businesses and payment institutions. Okay, you have a click.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Dan Melnick. I'm a co-founder and chief business officer at Corify. Corify is the payment orchestration platform, and we are a technology partner for online businesses and payment institutions. Our gateway is currently connected to more than 100 different payment providers and acquirers globally, and we help to serve our clients the problem of that there are rapid technological developments, and there are hundreds, literally, ways to pay online now, and the experience of managing payment services is getting more and more fragmented. Companies are investing heavily to support new technologies and scale their payment teams. Through one single integrations, our clients are connected to more than 100 different payment providers in the class globally. And we have a dedicated team whose daily work is to establish new integrations and maintain those connections lifetime for our clients. By providing the technology, our clients can virtually process absolutely everything, starting from Bitcoin and with SEPA, SWIFT, CHAPS transfers. The vast majority of transactions, at least last year, were card payments and e-wallet transactions. This allows clients ultimate scalability, and also they can pursue different options for optimization or management. Usually, we're a dedicated payment team for external clients. We have a full payment stack that can be virtually allowed to process almost everything to support any payment flow, any payment method and currency, including cryptocurrency. We have two sorts of clients on board. On one hand, it's payment institutions due to the fact that we have white label interfaces for payment providers. On another hand, we have online merchants that are willing to scale and access new markets. Currently, we're a team of 62, and we are still hiring and expecting to grow our team at least with 10 to 15 people during 2 months in both locations which we have. And also, we're going to open a new office in Manila, the Philippines, to grow into South Asian markets. Sorry. Current competition landscape is the following, and we're the only independent platform in Europe. All others were acquired by big names. And in terms of connectivity, we're in top 10 and expected to reach top 5 next year. So we have, most of the clients are from Western and Eastern Europe and Russian-speaking markets, starting from Israel and ending with Kazakhstan. And also, I mentioned that we're going to Southeast Asia from the Philippines, and the next move will be North American markets. So since we're B2B, we are using standard channels to reach our clients. So we are hiring, and we're happy to hire more people in order to scale our company.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So we have 3 more companies that we're gonna hear today, and I would like to invite the next one. NectWorld creates adaptive G4 modems, enabling laptops users to connect to the internet almost everywhere around the globe.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. So my name is Marina. I'm CEO and co-founder at NectWorld, and we build your private and secure internet space that gives you a superpower to work from anywhere. Do you know what is common between COVID and cyber attack? You never know when you can get it. You are under threat every time when you use unprotected internet connection. Your personal data, your private information, and even physical location can be stolen any minute when you use public Wi-Fi. Doctors came up with a simple solution when it comes to COVID. Just use your mask and sanitizer, and you will be protected to the mask. We came up with equally simple solution at that. Just mask your laptop with our Nect modem, and you will have reliable and secure enough connection to save yourself from intruders. This is our product. It is a hybrid with hardware, our beautiful Nect modem, and software, where you can manage and set up your data plans and VPN subscription. Nect modem is your simplizer. This is our business model. We divided it into 3 different parts. For those who want to use just security part, for those who want to use connectivity part, and the third one, I call it all-inclusive, when you are protected to the max and use both our data plans and VPN subscription. And we already have our first traction. This is our Indiegogo results. We happily ended our crowdfunding campaign and have more than 3,000 happy backers. But this is not all what we can bring value to the world. Our long-term plans is not only sell Nect modems to the world, but to create 5G solution, security 2.0 solution with more hardware security, and our long-term plans is to create a satellite Nect modem. This is our market size, and we really believe that people will use more and more convenient ways to use their internet connection. And that's why we divided both of the really big markets of VPN and connectivity to sell the most easy to use solution for our customers. We close deals at our official website, on Amazon Web Store, through different marketplaces and distributors, and we also see a demand from companies with remote workers. Of course, we know that there is a really competitive market on security side and connectivity side. That's why we created a solution that is complex for both security and connectivity part. And all of that became real thanks to our significant team. In Sum, we have more than 30 years of experience. And thank you so much. Let's build the world of connectivity together.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you. So, I would like to invite KYC Pay, a platform that gives businesses direct access to banks, financial and merchant providers. Guys, your 3 minutes start right now.
KYC Pay is a marketplace of financial solutions which give a business by one KYB profile to get access to all financial legal software net which can be collaborate. Some of our clients call us Amazon for financial providing. Our team, it's a big experienced banking team which have experience in big startups like Saxo Bank. It's a big startups. We have a background in JP Morgan, Deloitte, ING Bank, different one, which give us to give experience to our users. We give by one KYB, now they profile open access to different, more than 56 banks, more 45 today nowadays merchants and different one fintech solution. The main idea to get your own list, to be onboarded there directly because we are like a partnership of them directly. The main options which are now today for any business which can be applied to a platform use solution with bank accounts, merchant accounts to be directly on board through one KYB profile. You have a need to add and fill additional forms. Just apply to KYC Pay and you will get your own wallet to be on board through our platform. Additionally, you can directly match and contact chat with any legal provider, more than 25 different countries. You can find some software companies which are on board in our platform. If you need to grow up your own financial business, you can find the advising, you can find the license, and you will be correctly to creating your own neo-banking structures through our platform. And additionally, we will add your own experience and collaborate banks and other payment provider. Today we have three and additionally 3 products which are launched. It's like called BankNet, MerchantNet, LegalNet, additionally SoftNet and Buy and Sell Net, where you can find some additional options with license all over the world. Neo Banking is a product which gives collaboration. Nowadays we have more than 100 different fintech clients which we collaborate between banks, financial license. The main idea, you have additionally one KYB rating which gives you understand where you now in financial world. We change the world nowadays because we collaborate and have a big experience and have big data with our clients, with fintech company, with bank because we related with them. Nowadays, we create a big benefit for different financial institutions. That's why we thanks and want to be on board any banks, any partners get on in our platform. We'll collaborate. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, and I would like to call for Global Ledger, who will finalize the startup session at the UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit today. So Global Ledger is the AML risk assessment, surveillance, and visual investigations for blockchain-based assets. Guys, are you ready?
Yeah, totally ready.
So the floor is yours.
Yeah, super. So generally, if I explain Global Ledger in a simple sentence, that would be the Palantir for crypto that is available for anyone. So now anyone can perform surveillance, I would say. The problem behind that is quite simple. Let me share my screen. You should be able to see that, right? So the problem is quite simple. With all this anonymity that crypto brings and all this speed of transactions, it attracted attention of criminals, like naturally. However, it also attracted naturally the attention of regulators, right? In 2014, 2016, up to 40% of all transactions in crypto were related to cybercrime, darknet activity, and stuff like that. So we basically allow allow fintech projects who want to go crypto to verify sources of funds. And this is what is required by regulations all over the world right now. And we also allow regulators to oversee those financial institutions and crypto companies and to see, if there are so many risky transactions or sketchy thing is going on there. So basically, so why financial institutions cannot do that all alone? Because they don't have a resource to conduct research. They cannot really connect anonymous wallets with real world entities. They cannot infiltrate, let's say, darknet marketplace in order to spot all of their wallets clustered. That's what we do. We basically have two products, one of which is integrated solution for scoring and transaction sources analytics, and another one is a visual analytics tool that is used by law enforcement agencies and also compliance officers that would like to verify transactions and explore blockchain. That's what I said, the Palantir for crypto. Basically, we earned some money. So we earned more than $500,000. Like the contracts are exceeding this in this year already. We also conducted investigations with law enforcement and private clients. Even had one kidnapping case. The business model is quite simple. So it's SaaS, but for enterprise and law enforcement clients that would require extra security and privacy, we have on-premise solution. For small fintechs, that's the cloud. They can jump in and go. I can kind of show you the tool. So you can just use a Bitcoin wallet, generate report. It would tell you, what entity it belongs to, what's the risk score, how much money are coming from risky sources. We'll give you the whole breakdown in terms of those sources. So we can see here money coming from the Silk Road, which is a darknet marketplace, effectively. Agora market is the same. You can go and explore graph. You can see, all these interactions. You can even conduct large-scale investigations.
Really sorry. I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but 3 minutes is over. So thank you very much. It was very interesting. Thank you, all the teams. It was really inspiring and interesting. And I would like to invite Randeep Buttar, who is a CEO of the company. Compliance as a service, and Randeep will describe the interesting case of cooperation between the UK and Ukraine. Randeep, you there?
I am indeed.
Nice to see you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Randeep Buttar. Firstly, please accept my apologies, those of you in London, for not being present with you. This is solely due to the fact of a pending second vaccination. The good news, though, is that my voice has pretty much recovered since Sunday. So onwards we go. I'll begin by saying that it's a real honor to be given the opportunity to speak with you all today. And I'd also like to congratulate Sasha and the Sigma team for a solid effort in this trade mission. Very well done. And as mentioned, I'm here to talk about my experience working with tech firms in the Ukraine. And hopefully for those founders considering partnerships, this will aid you in your decision-making process. So actually providing a slightly different perspective on what we've heard so far. So a bit of background on me. I'm a UK national, born and bred just down the road from the embassy where you guys are now, so in the London Borough of Ealing. In my professional career, I've worked in a number of sectors, including the NHS, national government, oil and energy, as well as the legal sector. However, I found my home in the financial services, and I've been delivering transformation programs for firms like Euroclear, Deutsche Bank, and HSBC for around 15 years. During this time, it's become very clear to me that a major driving force for change in the banking sector is regulation. The volume of regulation has blown up since the financial crisis. Regulators themselves are applying a lot more scrutiny and generally willing to issue severe penalties for non-compliance. And in addition to that, there's a great deal of complexity and divergence as you go from one jurisdiction to the next. So the effort needed to interpret, realign your organization and report to various supervisors has actually made compliance a very effort-intensive and costly challenge. Not just for traditional banks, but in particular for the challenger banks and also the fintechs that we've just heard from, especially when they want to grow into new markets. So a lot of this was even touched upon in the Vision Forum earlier, so I'm sure that you guys can all relate to what I'm saying. Nothing new there. So as a result of these observations, I decided to actually step out of the corporate world and become a founder. I set up Compliance as a Service, which is essentially badged as a RegTech software provider. Our main focus is to basically automate the compliance lifecycle. Now, I've had a number of challenges in doing this, especially from moving from the corporate sector to actually being a founder. It's a very different mindset. But the key challenges I faced from I guess, a practical standpoint were, number one, I needed a tech team that would quickly understand my needs and be able to provide some blue sky thinking around my use cases. You know, what does good look like and what is the art of the possible? Number two, I also needed to act fast, i.e. design a prototype that would allow me to have meaningful conversations with my investors, something that I'm sure all the founders can relate to, and basically take my concept into something a lot more tangible. And then number three, I needed people who understood my vision and would be willing to come on the journey with me, not just as a vendor, but actually as a partner. So quickness to market was a challenge, as was cost. We all know that whilst there's a lot of good homegrown talent here in the UK, sometimes this can be cost prohibitive, especially in the early stages. So I definitely have the benefits that come with incorporating in the UK. And obviously that gives me access to a very wide marketplace. However, I needed a nearshore technology partner. I heard about the depth of talent in the Ukraine, and so decided to do something very corporate. I ended up issuing a request for information, or an RFP, to 10 selected tech firms within Ukraine. We assessed them against various criteria, including their competency pool, revenue sources, profits, and of course, very important for me in compliance, how they're funded and their corporate structures. Every firm was absolutely transparent, and to be honest, there wasn't that much between them. In the end, I'm proud to say that I went with Sigma Software, and this is not just because they ticked all of my boxes, but it had a large part to do with their values as an organization and also their approach to supporting startups, which you've heard about already in terms of things like the incubators that they run. Sasha and Valery were obviously very key and instrumental in this. And so when I made that decision, I flew out to Kiev when flying was actually a thing. Some of those of you that are young probably don't remember that. And I ran a series of workshops to basically bring the Sigma team up to speed on my business requirements. And my observations really, I'll start by saying, Ukraine is a lovely country. I honestly got a sense of the future when I was interacting with the people there. Very driven, very positive, very smart, lots of good energy. And obviously that came across on the pitches that we just heard. I'm also a big fan of history. And so I was given a whistle-stop tour of the city, including the Old Town, which was just beautiful. But I digress. If we come back to the tech team were amazing. First of all, none of them had grounding in the financial services, and yet they were able to understand my very niche compliance requirements quickly. And frankly, I was blown away by their technical knowledge, comparable, if not more comprehensive than the data scientists I found, not just in the corporate firms that I've dealt with, but also specialized tech vendors. Case in point is around things like text parsing, text analytics, coupled with the use of ontologies and semantic graph data structures. So these guys knew their stuff front to back, and I was very assured. And in the end, I walked away with a huge sense of confidence that I was in the right hands, but also very good relationships too. A few weeks later, the full front to back stack was completely designed, and we had a clickable prototype pretty much ready to go. Such was the rapidness of the turnaround. And actually, from my perspective, that's very unheard of. corporate organizations tend to be, tend to take their time when it comes to things like this. So I was very satisfied with the end result. All of this net now puts me in a very good position to go out and secure funding. So I appreciate I've got a very small segment on the call today, and most of you probably want to start networking. So I'll summarize by saying, the point is that there's an openness to not only providing services, but also to becoming a true collaborator and even a co-founder with startups. So I would say to all the startups out there, certainly those that are UK based, there's a real opportunity here to partner up, work with very talented people, and also grow and scale fast, which you all want to do. So with that in mind, I'll welcome you all to use this as an opportunity to engage the firms that you've seen today and ultimately grow together. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Randeep. Thank you for your warm words. And thank you, everyone who were participating today. And I give the floor to Angelica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Thank you so much, Randeep, for your truly inspirational speech. Our startups that are present here in our studio were really, their breath was taken away, and it's really lovely to hear such nice words about Ukraine and Ukrainian talents and Ukrainian startup ecosystem that is actually booming. Right now, you're probably thinking, what am I holding? I'm holding the envelope, and I don't know what is it in there. But I know that our partners, TIE London, they have chosen their own winners of the startup call. Among all the companies that were pitching and among all the companies that were applying to the startup call, there are only two companies, two young startups that will get special prize from TIE London. And this will be hands-on knowledge on their startup journey, free mentorship and VC connection, and much, much more, and incubation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry that I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know who will get these prizes. So this is surprising. I can see there is some tension in the room, but this is, sorry. So, ladies and gentlemen, our dear startups, the first winner of the TIE London membership is Go Solo. Go Solo is online, yes? Okay. And the second winner is UpSWOT. So I would like to congratulate these wonderful companies and congratulate everyone, all the 10 selected startups, the finalists, because all the 10 selected startups that were presenting their ideas here, they're not just the startups, they are selected among the most prominent innovative ideas throughout the whole Ukraine. And I'm sure that one of the ideas, or maybe all 10 of them, will become unicorns. So I would like to give the stage to our studio in London. And please, Kate.
Hello?
Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angelica.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What a day. What a day. It's been amazing. Thank you so much to Angelica and all our distinguished guests and speakers. And now we have to say thank you. Special thank you to the organizers of the UK-Ukraine Fintech Summit, TheCityUK, London Stock Exchange, Sigma Software Group, Embassy of Ukraine in the UK, obviously, is the main one. Also, special thanks to our partners, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Fintech Scotland, and National Bank of Ukraine. And now I'm especially honored to welcome on the stage Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to the United Kingdom, Vadim Prestaiko. Over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I have been privileged by an extremely important role today to pull a plug on today's event and call it success. because if I don't do it, it will go on and on virtually in the physical world because it generated so much interest. 300 plus very sophisticated participants around the globe, scope of ideas which we discussed, and exchanges which we had is just really amazing. Brexit, new chapters of global New Britain, UK-Ukraine strategic partnership, even global pandemic, all of it creates the opportunities which we have to harness for our power of bytes and bits, and especially in fintech. I believe that today's event proved that we are successful. Ukraine and UK are already enjoying significant growth in IT services. I can tell you last year, over 50% growth just annually. We expect that in 2022, Ukrainian IT companies will provide up to $500 million in export contracts to the UK companies. That's so much we can do together. UK as the world's top tech hub and a market, and Ukraine as the fastest growing European hub for producers of IT services. I believe that we can start working together, and in my very humble but very biased opinion, Ukraine is the place to work with. And it's not just us, but this year, the Global Sourcing Association, which has recently awarded Ukraine award 2021 as global UK destination to us, to Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, I will also take a moment to thank our all organizers. You see all of our partners and sponsors here. We had this before your eyes over the whole day, and you probably know how to read, know what sort of input they made. But I also wanted to ask for the virtual round of applause to our hosts. Katya Lang, thank you very much. Our moderators, Andrew and Rael. And I hope that all the professional moderations they've done, all the professional moving people around and telling when to do what to make this event a great success. So we have to thank all of these people, and I believe that I can hear it right now, but I believe it's here. Thank you. We believe that both teams which were working from London and from Kiev and made all of this possible, all the technical support, professional support which has been done, this is again, that's something which makes this event possible. If you found your partners, if you want to have businesses with Ukraine Embassy here to be this, I don't know, hub, again, very, very popular word today, but we're here today, and please follow up what we are doing. There are more things to come. So I officially call it a success and hope that we'll see all of you again. Thank you very much.